Ahead on American Sunrise Early Edition, some wisdom from well south of the border. El Salvador's president comes to the White House to extol the virtues of law and order, common sense, and borders. A group of so-called American small business people is now suing to stop the Trump tariffs. But hold on, guys. A bunch of Chinese merch drop shops with a few 1099 part-timer employees doesn't make a business American. So you have chosen the way of pain. Harvard University refuses to work with the Trump administration's efforts to cut down on campus anti-Semitism. Hey, geniuses, is it really worth $9 billion to keep being such anti-Semites? There was a lot of shaking, but miraculously, no injuries after a 5.2 magnitude earthquake rocked the San Diego area yesterday, with tremors felt as far north as Los Angeles. And as Holy Week and Passover continue, one U.S. senator wants to make Easter a federal holiday. If you need another day to recover from the services, family gatherings, and the chocolate, this could be the bill for you. American Sunrise Early Edition begins now.
Welcome to American Sunrise Early Edition. The show where faith, freedom, and the values that built this nation take center stage.
Your good deeds and bad deeds. That's how we're going to judge you.
Join host Jake Novak as he breaks down the stories that matter.
We will be letting the public know regularly what we have found.
American Sunrise Early Edition with your host, Jake Novak, starts now.
Welcome to a Tuesday here on American Sunrise Early Edition. I'm Jake Novak, and I don't know if pink, blue, and purple are the colors of any country's flag, but they are now officially the colors of Jakistan. I'm going to try to rock these colors, and hopefully it'll work for everyone today. Joining me now is Grace Curley. She's the host of the Grace Curley radio show. It's on WRKO Radio and heard all over the country, and you can see it on the internet as well. Hey, Grace, I thought the folks, and you're from the Boston area, I thought the folks at Harvard were supposed to be smart, but apparently they're willing to lose maybe up to $9 billion in the end. It's $2.2 billion right now to make sure they continue to have an anti-Semitic campus. They must really love being that. I mean, this has got to be getting a lot of people scratching their heads up there.
Yeah. And, you know, it's funny that you mentioned being from New England because a similar thing's happening in Maine, where Janet Mills, the governor of Maine, is willing to lose, I think, $290 million in federal funding for schools there so that men can compete against women in sports. I mean, the priorities of these Democrats here in the Northeast is pretty bizarre. But going back to Harvard, Jake, and I know you've talked about this so much and we've talked about it, you know, between the two of us. It's very disturbing, but people at this point should not be surprised. And what I go back to with Harvard is Claudine Gay, the former president of Harvard, when she was in that infamous congressional hearing with Elise Stefanik, and she was asked if calling for the genocide of Jews violates Harvard's bullying and harassment terms or, you know, violations. And she could not answer that question, and neither could the other, university heads sitting on that congressional panel. And I think at the time, a lot of people were hoping that it was a one-off or that it was a bad moment or that maybe she was just a bad president and that once she stepped down, which she eventually did for that and for plagiarism reasons, that maybe this issue would be resolved. And I think a lot of people were hoping that because Harvard is this institution, you know, it's this, especially here in Boston, it's like this glorified place that people just have such respect and reverence for. So people were hoping that this couldn't be the case. And the truth is that when a place like Harvard or the people there tell you who they are, you should believe them. And if they are more than willing to lose all of this money so that the students can continue harassing Jewish students, making them feel unsafe and spewing this anti-Semitism, that's all you need to know. You don't need to know more. They're telling us who they are. We should believe them. This goes for a lot of these Ivy League institutions, but Harvard especially. It's really disheartening. It's disgusting. But at this point, when we're so far out from that original congressional hearing, and thank God for Elise Stefanik, it's not surprising. You know, that should have been the eye-opening moment. Everything else now is just confirmation.
Yeah. And I mean, look, and if it were I wouldn't say any other group, because I think that Indian Americans and Asian Americans could also be treated in that way, and Harvard would be willing to fight just to keep that from happening. But a lot of other groups, we all know that Harvard wouldn't allow it for even 1 second. If there were a KKK group on campus, if there were a group bashing gays and Latinos on campus, I mean, honestly, and frankly, if they were deliberately doing that and deliberately destroying their ability to go learn and go to a library or classroom, I wouldn't have a problem with that. Fine. But it's so clear that they are not cracking down on this because it's not one of the minorities that they care about at the school. And I got to tell you, they're going to pay for it in more than just that funding. And, I'm seeing a lot of other universities around this country who are figuring this out and becoming more welcoming to everyone. I'd like to see a paradigm shift in what we consider to be really good schools to send our children to in the coming years. Hey, Grace, speaking of the elites, they really do hate America, and sometimes they can't hide it. Here is former Treasury Secretary and Fed Chair Janet Yellen telling most of America to shove it when it comes to working with our hands and some kind of manufacturing work. Check it out.
Perhaps it's to bring back American manufacturing, but I really think that's a pipe dream and not something that is likely to be accomplished. And we could even raise questions about whether or not, in a broad-based way, that's a desirable goal.
Here's a hot tip, Grace. If you've never worked or even lived in a blue-collar town in America, don't say things like that, ever. And so many people are. And here's someone who's from Brooklyn. She's never worked in a blue-collar town. She's been in administrations her whole life and at the university level, telling people that maybe we don't even want to have manufacturing in this country. Your take.
I mean, this is so absurd, and there's a level of elitism there. There's a level of snobbiness, and you're right, Jake. It's par for the course when you're dealing with people who have never experienced this. And I saw something similar. There was a conversation there was discourse online about whether or not people would want to work in factories. And I think what you're getting here is a lot of projection from either the media class or these politicians who have had these kind of jobs. They would never want to work in factories, and that's okay. No one's going to make Janet Yellen work in a factory, but don't assume that there aren't people in America who would love a good paying job, a stable job. I mean, my parents, we were just talking about Boston. My parents are both from South Boston, and they said to me, when they were kids, people's parents worked at usually one of two places, the Edison plant or Gillette. It was like the two places that you could count on for people to work. And there was no issue with that. The other part of it, and I sound like a broken record, I keep going back to this when it comes to all of the naysayers about bringing back American manufacturing, but it really does drive me crazy. These are the same people who have no issue spending trillions of dollars on EV chargers that never come to fruition. They tell you men can compete against women, men can identify as women, women can identify as cats. They tell us we're going to stop the cows from farting by giving them like seaweed pills. They have, you want to talk pipe dreams. These people, there's nothing that they think is off limits for what they can accomplish. They have a God complex when it comes to every other category known to man or known to person. I'm sorry, I should probably be politically correct here. And yet when you want to talk about something as simple as like, let's start building things again. Let's make Americans, let's give Americans some good paying jobs. Then all of a sudden they're checking us, they're giving us reality checks and the cynicism is back. And they're like, I don't think this is possible. And I'm not even sure we'd want this to happen. It's like, where is the skepticism when it comes to anything else or any other spending or any other strategies? You all don't have any issues with it whatsoever. But then it also goes back, Jake, to the main thing. And I think that you can make this point no matter what you hear from the liberals, which is, I don't want advice on what's logical or possible or realistic from a woman who told me that inflation was transitory and who worked for an administration that told me that Joe Biden was as sharp as a tack. Like, I don't need any advice from this woman for the rest of my life. She's lost the ability to give me advice. Her points are moot. I do not care. She can go away. And I think we're all set.
Yeah, it's amazing that they're expecting that. And I love what you said about the EV chargers. Where do they expect them? If you want to have 1 million EV chargers, it'd be a lot easier if they were made here. Who's going to make them? But Grace, why stop the tone-deaf parade at Janet Yellen? Because her fellow Brooklyn native, Bernie Sanders, and he is from Brooklyn, I mean, when I see Bernie Sanders chopping down a tree in Vermont, I'll give you a call. But he's from Brooklyn. Anyway, he showed up at Coachella this past weekend. Grace, can you tell the audience the absurdity of that craziness? What's he doing at Coachella?
Jake, I thought, and the older I get, the less appealing. Coachella never really appealed to me, to be honest. But the older I get, the more I'm like, I cannot believe people spend money to go to the desert, to walk around for 3 days and be miserable and hot and hungry and listen to these performers, whatever. It's not my cup of tea, and that's fine. But I mean, the irony Bernie Sanders showing up to go on this socialist tirade about billionaires, the billionaires and the problems with all these corporate America and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, his usual shtick that he's been doing for 300 years to a crowd of people that paid, I'm going to say, like lowballing $600 for these tickets. And a lot of them had to finance the tickets in the first place. There's such hypocrisy there. It's like, this is an event that's making tons and tons of money off of these people. A lot of them, I think, who are very naive and willing to spend it on this concert series. And this is where you choose to go. I also just can't imagine anything being more of a buzzkill when you're at a concert. And a lot of these young people, they're there to, you know, have a good time. And then all of a sudden Bernie Sanders comes out and he stops the show, you know, to lecture you on the evils of capitalism. It's like, yikes. I would say I want my money back. I didn't sign up for this. He wasn't a headliner on the poster when these people were buying their tickets. It's so ridiculous. I don't know if he flew first class like AOC to get there, or how that works, but it really does sum up. I think it was like a Babylon Bee headline or something that said, this really does sum up the Democrat Party. Is like Bernie Sanders lecturing a bunch of people who paid $600 for tickets on the dangers of capitalism. They're never going to learn. It's just buffoonery all around.
Yeah, I mean, I went to Billy Joel's last concert at the old Nassau Coliseum, and for some reason, some genius had then Governor Andrew Cuomo come out and speak to the crowd. And this was a crowd that probably 90% voted for him, and yet they still booed him because it's just not appropriate. No one wants to see that. You know, I keep telling people, you may not be interested in politics, and I respect you for that. But sadly, politics is interested in you. They are coming to bother you everywhere. It's like people knocking on your door wanting to talk about the Bible all the time. And by the way, if you ever do that at my house, you better be able to speak Hebrew because I'm going to shame you for not knowing it. But hey, that's another story. But this is really a crazy thing. Grace Curley, host of the Grace Curley Show on WRKO Radio, and you can get it nationwide. She's going to be on today. She's on every Monday through Friday. Grace, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Jake.
All right, coming up, do we or don't we have to bring back that illegal alien that the U.S. accidentally deported? The Supreme Court's order may not really mean that the Trump team has to bring this guy back. We'll talk about that in a moment. And some new developments on the story you first heard here on this show. Who was behind that rigged lottery scam in Texas? Some new answers are coming your way when American Sunrise Early Edition continues. That's the Inner Harbor in Baltimore, Maryland. I know. Everyone probably thinks I'm kidding when I say this, but that is yet another place I used to live. Not the Inner Harbor, but I lived in Baltimore as a kid for a while. I also lived in Oklahoma City, Norfolk, Virginia, and then as an adult, I've got like 30 other places. I'm not trying to confuse you. That's the Inner Harbor, though. And the one thing that I still have from Baltimore is that I am a Baltimore Orioles fan, having kind of a slow start. All right, welcome back to American Sunrise Early Edition. It's a Tuesday. Special welcome to those of you watching and commenting on Getter and Rumble. This is not a passive exercise anymore. Television news that doesn't want to hear from its viewers is old school and not in a good way. All right, what does the president of El Salvador have to say about that Supreme Court order telling President Trump to return that illegal alien who was accidentally deported last month? Here's the president's take on that.
Do you plan to return him?
Well, most people are suggesting that I smuggle terrorists into the United States, right? How can I return him to the United States? Like, could I smuggle him into the United States? Or whether, of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
So you can release him inside El Salvador?
Yeah, but I'm not releasing, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. We just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into the releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? No, that's not going to happen.
Well, they'd love to have a criminal, released into it.
There's a fascination.
They would love it.
Yeah.
They're sick. These are sick people.
The Justice Department is, by the way, echoing that statement. They are arguing that all the Supreme Court order said was that the United States can't make new barriers for that guy to come back to Maryland. In other words, they don't believe that they have to go and find him and bring him back to the country. And by the way, the president of El Salvador proving that there is a way to be formal without wearing a tie at the White House. He was rocking that kind of tight shirt and the blazer, not wearing the hoodie or the T-shirt like John Fetterman or Vladimir Zelensky. All right, if you've been watching this program over the last couple of months, you've become familiar with this incredible story about the scam involving the Texas lottery. Now, I have to give credit to the Wall Street Journal. Over the weekend, they got some key details and names of the story out. This new article explains how a British banker turned bookmaker and a shady Tasmanian investor gamed the lottery in Texas. Now, remember, here's what I talked about in the details. I'm talking about them for about 2 months. There's always been a certain number of there's been a finite number of number combinations that are possible to win a lottery. And all that the world lacked before the last couple of years was the technology to be able to print those millions and millions of tickets with all those different number combos in the course of 2 or 3 days. But thanks to these online ticket brokers like Jackpocket, and thanks to these guys who ended up buying tons of these machines and rejiggering them, reprogramming them so that they could pump out hundreds of tickets a minute, this became possible. And so with the 25 or as much as some more like a $12 million investment, they were able to make $60 million. Folks, this is obviously not just happening in Texas. It's probably happening in every one of the major state and national lotteries. Do not play the lottery. There are people who are gaming it. You are literally just throwing your money away. It was never easy to win, of course, but now it's basically impossible. Okay, if you live and can vote in Minnesota, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is not going to run for the open Senate seat that current Senator Tina Smith is vacating next year. She made that statement yesterday. This was a grandstanding statement. Ilhan Omar's had a hard time winning re-election in her little House seat, which is a basically gerrymandered seat with radical voters from countries like Somalia, where Ilhan Omar is from. She would never stand a chance, even in Minnesota, for 1 second in a Senate primary, let alone the general election. But she decided to make a spectacle and pretend like she was some kind of a contender by making a special announcement that she will not be running for that Senate seat. What an incredible joke. Coming up, the Federal Trade Commission's case against Facebook parent Meta started with a bang yesterday. I'll have that key highlight. And the ignorant and biased legacy media will tell you today that a bunch of American small businesses are suing to block the Trump tariffs. But not so fast, guys. Let's see who's calling themselves Americans. We are American, and American Sunrise Early Edition will be right back.
We're in a very holy time of the year. We think in terms of a deliverance.
This is where she washes the dishes.
If you're ever going to allow your Christian faith to rise and to do something for God's chosen people, now is the time. This is the home of Galena. She's 96 years old.
This is what she had to eat for today.
She has one pot with water and wheat.
My father was killed by the Nazis, and I was an orphan. I didn't know about God. But now, in the cold, hungry nights, I pray for food to the God I've never known. There are good people that love you.
You see the tears. Scripture says joy can come in the morning, and you can be the reason.
This Passover, if you will bless these hurting children of Israel, you will receive God's blessing in return. Your urgent gift today of $25 will help rush a survival food box filled with life-saving essentials and matzah for the Passover holy day. Call, scan, or go online now.
I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, I don't know how much longer she could have waited for us to come.
I can't even grow my food anymore. What will happen to me? I'm doomed to starve.
Tens of thousands of elderly Holocaust survivors in the former Soviet Union are living in extreme poverty, hungry, and forgotten. But through the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, we can bring them hope.
Eggs. It's my favorite food. May you be blessed.
You say to them, we see you and we're here to help.
Please don't delay. Call, scan, or go online now.
They are already well into starting their day in Brighton, Michigan this morning. Looks a little gray, but not too bad for a mid-April morning. Welcome back to American Sunrise Early Edition. Let's take a look at where the markets will begin today because, dare I say it, this is a normal-looking chart for a Tuesday. Look at that. Yeah, just 10 points up on the Dow, not much on the S&P. Even gold isn't up that crazy. I mean, it's just, this is a normal morning. And by the way, I think this is the best news of all. Sure, I'd love to see another 2,900-point gain on the Dow and all that, but it's normalcy, which we need after these wild few weeks. And let's take a look at Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin's getting back into the range. And Bitcoin's up 0.5%. That's a significant move. But still, nothing that crazy. I'd like to see us get to a point where we don't have to worry about the stock market every day. I used to work at CNBC. I don't want to work there again. And I don't want this show to become a financial news show. But, look, we got to have some attention paid when the markets go crazy like this. All right, the latest on the tariff front is that a group of small businesses sued the Trump administration yesterday. They are hoping to block the tariffs. Their argument is that the trade imbalance isn't harmful. Doesn't harm them, they say. And that President Trump doesn't have the right to talk about this problem and doesn't have the right to impose the tariffs. I guess they must be Janet Yellen fans, for those of you who have been watching since the beginning of the hour. Here's the thing. Now, I'm sure some of the small businesses in this lawsuit really are filled with American employees. But honestly, I took a look at some of the people who have been complaining from the so-called small business sector in America since the tariffs were imposed, and they are basically like Amazon drop shops. They buy up Chinese-made goods, usually clothing and little gadgets like that. They have one or two quote-unquote American employees who are really just on 1099, temporary workers, not full-time employee type things, and they're claiming to be American small businesses. You got to look very closely at who's making these lawsuits. Some of them probably are American companies with real American employees, but a lot of them are really just selling repurposed Chinese merchandise. It is such a scam. I'm not buying it. Well, don't tell Janet Yellen, but an AI chip-making powerhouse, NVIDIA, that's the company, is announcing the building of a big new AI supercomputer factory in Texas. And that means more electric power will be needed as well. By the way, I really want to show you pictures of NVIDIA chips being made and all that kind of stuff. But you know what? It's actually kind of boring. This is I'm going to break down one of the walls of broadcast television news for you folks. We always want to show you video of things, but showing a little chip being made doesn't really show you much. So I had to show you the headline instead. Anyway, it's good news. NVIDIA is bringing this chip factory to Texas. I like it. Janet Yellen, yes, we can make things here in the United States. And yes, that is desirable. Please go away. The Federal Trade Commission began its trial against Meta. That's the Facebook parent. They own, Facebook owns Instagram and they own WhatsApp and all that stuff. And the Federal Trade Commission is trying to prove that Meta is a monopoly. I think it's pretty obvious that it is, but okay. And that it broke antitrust laws. And it decided to open their case with this incredible opening salvo. Daniel Matheson, he is the FTC's lead litigator. He flagged what he called a smoking gun. It's a 2012 email where Mark Zuckerberg suggested that Facebook should buy Instagram to, quote, neutralize a potential competitor. That sounds like a smoking gun. You're not supposed to do that. Oops. But Meta plans to argue that it doesn't matter what Zuckerberg or other executives like former COO Sheryl Sandberg wrote in emails. The FTC may try to break up Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. That's what they're going to look to do, depending on how the trial goes. Okay, now let's hit the road. Yes, that is our new Moving America animation, and it is sponsored by Artillery Tea. You can see their different flavors and varieties here. And please make sure to use the promo code America's Tea for 25% off of your first order. Let's get to Moving America. And again, sponsored by Artillery Tea. Who needs tariffs when petty disputes between your suppliers can mess up your truck business? That may be what the folks at GM are saying this morning now, that two separate suppliers who make key parts for GM truck steering columns are having a little fight. Actually, they're having a big fight. The two companies' names are Primax and Nextier. Primax wants to up its prices, and Nextier says, no, you promised to keep prices the same for a particular amount of time, and they are literally going to court over this. And if they can't make an agreement and continue to get parts to each other, Chevy Silverado, GMC trucks, and some other models may have to stop production while this fight goes on. It's got nothing to do with tariffs. Don't forget the lawyers are also involved in the world, and sometimes they stop production too. The Dodge Charger Daytona, it's called the Daytona Charger EV. Remember that was the pace car at the Daytona 500 a couple of months ago? Well, even though it was the pace car and everyone's supposed to love it, guess what? It's not selling well. Who would have thunk it? A muscle car that's electric? That's like trying to sell vegetarians a gift certificate to Outback Steakhouse. It's stupid. Anyway, their sales numbers keep getting worse, surprise, surprise. And now Dodge is offering a hefty $6,500 rebate to new Charger buyers. Now, that's in stark contrast what you usually do when a brand new sports car is launched, as dealers have to deal with hot demand, but that requires demand. And Dodge doesn't have it. So, folks, $6,500 rebate for the car that everyone was supposed to love. Okay. Don't feel bad for Dodge, though, because they're not alone. Maserati isn't selling either. The brand is down 48% this year over year for the first 3 months of 2025. They have only sold 1,700 vehicles worldwide. But wait, Maserati and Dodge are owned by the same parent company, Stellantis. Maybe Stellantis is the problem. They don't really know how to market. Someone at Stellantis decided to make a muscle car that was an electric car. Someone at Stellantis decided not to make Maseratis a sexy car and to go to the consultants at McKinsey to figure out how to sell it. I think we know the problem, and it's called Stellantis. All right, here's some good news. The Willow Springs Motor Speedway outside of Los Angeles has been sold to a group of buyers who will preserve that track and keep racing events going at the historic site. Fans have long worried that the site would end up becoming another condo development or something else, but it has been saved. Now, if this track looks familiar to you, it's because it's been in a lot of movies, and even the animated version of that track, for those of you guys who remember the movie Cars, the Pixar movie, the track in that movie was based on this as well. It is an iconic racetrack. It's a fun place to go, and believe me, the people who love this place had every reason to worry that it might end up in the wrong hands. It might end up becoming some kind of development, not a racetrack, and the new owners are going to keep it that way and have more events there. So that's a good news story, and I'm happy for it. Tariffs have thrown the global economy into chaos. Potential widespread inflation tied to massive supply chain disruptions is weighing heavily on all of us. But there is a silver lining that most people have missed. President Trump specifically exempted gold and silver bullion from these sweeping tariffs. Now, while these new policies are triggering significant financial chaos, the administration preserved your ability to diversify into precious metals. If you are concerned about your savings, I encourage you to have a free consultation with a Birch Gold precious metals specialist. The first step is to text America to 989898 and receive your free no obligation info kit on gold. Learn how to hold gold and silver in a tax-sheltered account. Birch Gold will help you convert an existing IRA or a 401k into a gold IRA for no money out of pocket. I buy my gold from Birch Gold. Is it finally time you did too? With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and thousands of thankful customers, text America to the number 989898. Again, text America to 989898 to claim your free info kit right now. Coming up, justice for Peanut. If you don't know why you're seeing a squirrel on your TV screen just right there, I will explain in just a moment when American Sunrise Early Edition comes right back.
I'm Richard Karn, and I love my hose. My hose is lightweight. Oh, no. My hose will not kink. Come on. And my hose is anti-leak. It ain't those old hoses. This is my hose. The new pocket hose Copper Bullet, now infused with real copper, so your water is always clean and lead-free. Just turn on the water and watch your hose grow and grow to a full-size 3/4-inch hose. It stretches and expands like a rubber band. And when you turn off the water, away it goes, shrinking and squeezing that water out until it's practically bone dry. And that makes it easy to carry and put away. Our new inner tube uses 3 layers of high-strength latex on the inside. Then it's wrapped in a new polymer filament jacket, similar to the technology used in forest fire hoses because it's light and tough. 3 times stronger than the other hoses. It's guaranteed for 10 years. Nearly impossible to tear or snag. And the redesigned connector protector helps stop leaks at the spigot. But my favorite part of our new hose build? The oversized, easy-to-grip fittings. Easy on and off, even with gloves. With more than 100 patents worldwide, it's the best pocket hose in the world. Get the super light 25-foot pocket hose Copper Bullet today for only $29.99. But wait, call now and get our copper spray nozzle with our exclusive thumb drive free. Simply use your thumb to turn off and on. And with 10 unique patterns, you'll have a setting for every job. It's a $30 value, yours free with every 50-foot Copper Bullet. But it's not available in stores. This is an exclusive release of our newest pocket hose. There is a strict limit of 3 per order, so don't wait. Order now.
To order, call 1-800-448-0876 or visit copperbullethose.com. So call 1-800-448-0876 or visit copperbullethose.com. Order now.
It's Tuesday, April 15th. Here are some of today's top stories. Some wisdom from well south of the border. El Salvador's president comes to the White House to extol the virtues of law and order, common sense, borders, and wearing a jacket with no tie. He rocked it. So, as they say in The Lord of the Rings, you have chosen the way of pain. Harvard University refuses to work with the Trump administration's efforts to cut down on campus anti-Semitism. Hey, geniuses, is it really worth $9 billion to keep being such anti-Semites? You must really enjoy it. A group of so-called American small business people is now suing to stop the Trump tariffs. But hold on, guys. A bunch of Chinese merch drop shops with a few 1099 part-timer employees doesn't make a business American. And there was a lot of shaking, but miraculously no injuries, no deaths after a 5.2 magnitude earthquake rocked the San Diego area. Tremors were felt as far north as Los Angeles. This is a miracle, thank goodness. American Sunrise Early Edition continues now. Welcome back to American Sunrise Early Edition. I'm Jake Novak, and again, a special welcome to those of you watching and commenting. It's so important for you to continue to comment and do that on Getter and Rumble. I am trying to rock. I'm not as hot as the El Salvadoran president with that cool blazer, no tie look. I'm trying to rock the pink, purple, and blue thing. Let's see if that works for me this morning. More importantly, though, I have somebody here who has some important things to say about some legislation and other stuff. Welcome back to New York State Assemblyman Jake Blumenkrantz, who's been a regular guest on this program. And Assemblyman, I want to play this soundbite again, because this is the president of El Salvador explaining that just because American virtue signalers don't want an illegal alien to actually be taken out of this country, it's not so easy to bring him back. Check it out.
Do you plan to return him?
Well, I suppose you're not suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right?
It's always
how can I smuggle? How can I return him to the United States? Like, could I smuggle him into the United States, or whatever? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
You can release him inside El Salvador.
Yeah, but I'm not releasing. We're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. We just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? No, that's not going to happen.
Well, they'd love to have a criminal, released into
there's a fascination.
They would love it.
Yeah.
They're sick. These are sick people.
President Trump pointing to the CNN people saying they're sick people. Oh, look, Assemblyman, I understand that there is some due process that's given to people before they're deported, even if they're illegal aliens, but it's not a lot. We can't have a system here like we've had in New York, where tons of migrants are staying in hotels on the taxpayer money, literally asking poor working people to use whatever tax money they're giving in their paycheck to supplement people like this. And if they have to be deported, the government can't go back and find all these folks. I mean, listen, you're representing a part of New York City that saw this kind of influx. I mean, what's your take on this meticulous, hey, go find everybody illegal alien who maybe you should bring back?
Well, we're seeing an interesting process play out here in New York. You're seeing court dates being given to individuals who are looking for this process out 10, 15 years from the date that they are asking for it. So it's not exactly like it's a fast, easy, streamlined process. A lot of what the Trump administration has done is trying to uplift our court system and make sure that they can streamline and create efficiencies in this. Obviously, in his shock and awe campaign, we've seen what we've seen, and it's important to make sure that we're just making sure our streets are safe and we're taking out the worst people first. And that is what especially the Czar Holman told us when he was up in Albany. They're going after criminals first, and that's their intention.
Yeah, and by the way, President Trump and the El Salvadoran president went out clubbing after that because but obviously Trump didn't change in time. Okay. Listen, Assemblyman, I wanted to wait until the very last question to ask you about this, but who am I kidding? I showed pictures of Peanut the squirrel just a few moments ago, and everybody knows no one can wait to get your take on this. Tell me about this legislation you're pushing in memory of Peanut the late squirrel of social media fame. This is basically, all kidding aside, it's pretty scary. I mean, for some people, their pets, support animals, whatever you want to call them, are essential to them. And it was horrifying. I mean, it really was. I mean, all kidding aside, it was horrifying to see New York City come in and grab this animal out of this guy's apartment. And then I guess they eventually killed the squirrel. Is that right?
Yeah, what happened at Peanut, it wasn't just about a squirrel living at a sanctuary. This was big government at its worst. We saw a family, the Longos, who dealt with the fact that they had a raid of multiple scores of agents at their home, attempting to seize both a squirrel and a raccoon from a sanctuary with over 100 plus animals. These animals would essentially act as their vehicle to fundraise for this farm, to make sure they can treat so many animals who had nowhere else to go. What we've done is we've created Peanut's Law to give people a place to go, people a place to fight back against overreach in government, to fight back against overreach from an administration who has no interest in supporting and being for the people and by the people. And that is why this bill creates a due process system. It creates a 72-hour waiting period. It creates veterinary intervention. It's human first policy. It's not partisan. It is animal rights at its finest. And that's why we need to get Peanut's Law passed. We have this as a bipartisan piece of legislation because it means too much to too many people to make sure that the mistakes and what's happened to Peanut will not happen again.
Assemblyman, you know, I talk on this program a number of times about how I can't believe how easy the left and the Democrats are making it on people like President Trump. The hills they're willing to die on. They're willing to die on Tren de Aragua. They're willing to die to support boys in the girls' locker room. They're willing to die to allow for the government of a city or a state to barge into your home and take a pet. I mean, look, I've been in television news for over 30 years, and I can tell you that stories about pets and stories about animals are a really good way to get people interested in your program. Are they really? I mean, what's next? Are they going to be against apple pie? Are they going to be against sunshine? I mean, you have to think to yourself when you're crafting this bill, boy, are they really going to oppose me on this? I mean, what have you had any kind of pushback yet? And has it made you scratch your head?
What I have seen is an amazing movement. We have seen an administration that put red tape over the reality of what this sanctuary was doing and how these animals were being treated fairly and they're being treated well. At the end of the day, we have seen a lot of people push back at us, tell us, why do you care about animal rights? Why do you want to see a change to this protocol? I want to codify the change to the protocol to make sure that something like this can never happen again. That Peanut and Fred's life did not end in vain, but it will end in a way in which animals are protected here in New York State. It's a message I think we can get across to the other side in a rare moment. We need to be able to seize any moment where we can captivate both sides of the aisle, make sure we can get something done, and be effective in our jobs as legislators.
While some institutions are basically being overly protective of their own desires, they just want to kind of get in there. Like you said, these government institutions coming in, too much government. The government in a lot of institutions and the people who are overseeing some of them are shocked that the Trump administration wants to do something about the anti-Semitism on campus issue. Since you last joined us, we've had a number of interesting developments in this. We've talked before about Mahmoud Khalil, the student at Columbia University. Whether or not he was a student for real is another debate. I'd love to see some of his work. That's another story. But he was, now he can be deported. It won't happen overnight. So that's happened. Second is, of course, I've been talking throughout this program about the Trump administration demanding that Harvard University do something about the anti-Semitism on its campus. And Harvard has basically decided, no, they're going to fight it and basically put billions of dollars on the line to continue to not protect their own students. And more importantly, protect the civil rights laws. This isn't just Harvard's own rules they're breaking about civility and safe spaces. Apparently, if you're Jewish or you support Israel, or by the way, if you're Asian American too, they don't really care about you either. I'd love to hear your take on whether you think this is the right way to go. These are, this is federal funds. These schools, I guess, can say, keep your money. We want to continue being anti-Semitic, but they're not saying that. They want the money and they want to be anti-Semitic.
Yeah, we've seen over the course of the past 50 plus years, the federal government get in bed with many of our higher institutions of learning. And as part of that process, as part of doubling down on American innovation, on research, et cetera, they've also allowed to entrench themselves into their ability to make a push to make sure that students are safe on campus. The Trump administration has made one thing clear since the beginning. They are going to prioritize in their foreign policy and their domestic policy that we end anti-Semitism, that we fight back against a system where we've seen systematic incorporations of anti-Semitic practices, anti-Semitic curriculums, anti-Semitic professors who have entrenched and trained the next generation of Americans to hold different views than the rest of us hold. It is ridiculous to think that an administration with a mandate to end this would not try to attach strings to some of the issues we've seen on campuses, especially when it comes to just protecting students and creating safety on campus. You have 70% of students in New York who feel unsafe on their own campuses. You see students making decisions as to how schools are handling anti-Semitism to make different decisions as to where they go to school. If a school like Harvard wants to pay to make sure that they can fully control the ability to allow students to wear masks and intimidate and harass and throw things at students as they try to just walk to class to bar them from entering buildings, then that's their prerogative. I'm sure students will make their own decisions on where to go. But at the end of the day, this administration has made it clear that they will not let this stand if someone wants to receive federal funding to maintain their programs. We saw the changes at Columbia. Let's hope we see the changes at many of their institutions that don't have billions and billions of dollars like Harvard University, but nonetheless still need federal funding.
You know, Simon, I don't know how much of a student of history you are. I figure you probably are, because it seems like most people who go into politics have a little bit of a history bug. So, look, I want a couple of I want the audience to understand a couple of things that's important for folks to remember. The rise of the Nazis wasn't just in beer halls in Munich somewhere. One of the very first places that the Nazis took hold in Germany were at their elite universities. And by the way, those universities were elite universities. They weren't pathetic little places. They were the leading universities really in the whole world. And that took place there well before the Nazis took power. Albert Einstein basically had to come to this country from Germany in 1932, a full year before the Nazis were elected into office. That's how bad it was on these campuses. So if you're scratching your head and saying, wow, I can't believe these universities are these hotbeds of hate, they are. This is historic. And another point I want to make, look, it's Holy Week, it's Passover. I posted something last night. For those of you also scratching your heads thinking, why would they risk billions of dollars just not to do a few simple things here to make their campuses more civil? Well, ask yourself. Egypt lost all their firstborn and their army drowned in the Red Sea just so they could continue to be anti-Semites. Germany in World War II, all their cities destroyed. 3.5 million German citizens killed just so they could continue being anti-Semites. Hamas is allowing all their children and throwing them and using them as human shields so they can continue to be anti-Semites. Harvard is going to put eventually $9 billion on the chopping block. This goes throughout history. I mean, Assemblyman, you must have some people who come to you and say, this can't be that bad, right? I mean, do you often have to tell constituents or other people how serious this is?
I don't, because many of them hear from their own children or hear from friends and family when they're on campuses and they don't want to wear their Star of David out on campus. At the end of the day, you're right. In many time periods in history, the intelligentsia have created their own litmus test and their own ways of forming anti-Semitic views that box out Jewish thinking, that box out Jewish thinkers and innovators, that lead to different scenarios that we've seen from World War II on. And at the end of the day, this is not a new story. This is not a new playbook. What we are seeing is leadership that is taking a different lens in the way they attack head on what has become a pervasive rot in our higher institutions of learning.
All right. Well, Assemblyman Jake, I want to quickly ask you a question, though, about another piece of legislation you're backing about basically protecting people's genetic privacy. This is about the 23andMe bankruptcy, isn't it?
It is. So at the end of the day, we are in a genetic gold rush. The piece of data that will be pivotal in an era of CRISPR, in an era of gene editing, in an era where data becomes dollar signs, we need to make sure that New Yorkers are protected. We need to make sure that the DNA is something that is sacred and succinct to the individuals that provide that DNA. When we sign up for a company like 23andMe, like Ancestry, we don't expect that that company may one day go bankrupt, and then when they go bankrupt, that becomes the asset that is for sale in a forfeiture or in a bankruptcy. We need to make sure that that is protected data. That data is deleted. We need to make sure that that data cannot be sold. We need to make sure that no matter who owns that entity cannot sell or misuse that information, the data. We need to codify that. It can't just be part of company protocol, because guess what? At the end of the day, while 23andMe is telling individuals that their data is safe, that the data is not for sale right now, that may change depending on who owns it in the future. Their stock has plummeted. They're basically in full bankruptcy, and we need to make sure that no matter where it goes, it is safe. If you can delete it, go delete it right now. But in many instances where the websites are down because there's so many people on them, they can't delete it. They're scared and they're concerned. And what we're looking to do is to make sure that New Yorkers are safe. And I hope that we see this in other states as well.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. Assemblyman Jake Blumenkrantz, thanks so much for joining us for that extended segment we had with you today. Have a great week.
Thank you. Have a wonderful week.
All right, thank you. Listen, if you have my genetic information out there, just do something about the fact that my genes made me into a Jets fan. I don't know if that can be repaired. All right, coming up, it is Passover and Holy Week, and one U.S. senator is hoping to acknowledge that in a very official way. T. Bates is about to join us to discuss that when American Sunrise Early Edition comes right back.
There's nothing worse than losing your dog before their time. So why do so many dog foods contain awful things a human would never eat? To save his pets, world-famous veterinarian Dr. Marty knew he had to change what was in their bowl.
That's why I created Dr. Marty Nature's Blend, my breakthrough formula that's changed everything about dog food.
Nature's Blend contains nothing but all-natural ingredients designed to help dogs with everything from digestive issues to itching and paw licking, even moving around better. And that's because Nature's Blend is freeze-dried. So instead of destroying the nutrients with high heat, we gently preserve them, and you'll see the difference in your dog.
Take it from a veterinarian with over 50 years of experience saving dogs' lives. I have never seen a food make this much impact on a dog's health.
Such a huge difference in her health. More energy, more playful, no more pooping issues. He's healthier, he looks better.
Dr. Marty has thousands of 5-star reviews. And for a limited time, get up to 54% off Dr. Marty Nature's Blend, plus a free gift with our special TV offer. Call or go to drmartypets.com/TV. That's drmartypets.com/TV.
How many times have you tried to clean a stubborn mess but end up with no success? What you need is the all-new waterproof Ruby Horsepower, the new cordless and rechargeable power scrubber that cleans faster and easier, guaranteed. Watch, baked on oven grease is no match. It blasts away dirt and grime in no time. The power comes from our rotating brushes, spinning at 350 RPM. The incredible torque fights calcium, mildew, mold, and more. Take it in the kitchen, where it busts through caked-on crud, or outside and tackle tough tasks with ease. Get your Ruby Horsepower with 4 additional attachments, all for just $39.99. Great news! They're in stock and ready to ship. Due to high demand, only 2 per order. Order now.
Call 1-800-944-4512. That's 1-800-944-4512. Or visit horsepowerscrubber.com. So call 1-800-944-4512 now.
Ho-hum, another beautiful morning in Miami Beach, Florida. Yes, I am officially jealous. It's the middle of April. It's dead center middle of April, and I'm getting a little tired of the chillier mornings here in New York. I really like that shot, and I'm just going to daydream that I'm in Miami right now. I bet Terrance Bates is also having kind of a cold morning in Denver. He's going to join us right now from the American Sunrise. I call it the big show because they are for 2 hours, and they are the big stars that come on at 8 after this program is over. But I get a chance to talk to Terrance right now. And listen, Terrance, this is interesting. Missouri Senator Eric Schmitt is proposing making Easter a national holiday. Now, before we talk about this, I just want to make sure everyone understands the parameters of this. A lot of you might think that Good Friday is already a national holiday or some kind of day off. Now, that might be a day off for you at your workplace, but it's actually not a national holiday. It is, by the way, they don't trade on the New York Stock Exchange that day, but it is not a federal holiday. And, of course, the Monday after Easter is not a federal holiday. And I just wonder if maybe a lot of people are going to worry about this becoming some acknowledgement of only religion. I think this is a nice thing. A tremendous percentage of Americans are celebrating around that weekend, and that includes all the people who are celebrating Passover, because part of Easter always touches parts of Passover one way or the other. This year it'll be right in the middle of Passover, but still part of the holiday. I don't have a problem with this. In fact, I think it would be nice if everyone, instead of dragging themselves into work on a Monday, had that extra day off. I'm gonna make the argument, Terrance, on an economic. I think this will help productivity, and it'll be a better Tuesday. That's what I think.
Okay. Interesting argument. I think it is a good idea as well. I was looking up some figures, and 62% of Americans claim that they are Christian, or at least have some sort of acknowledge of a Christian faith. So that's obviously a majority, so I think it would work. And then when you add in, as you said, that typically Easter and Passover share some similar days, or at least share some days. It's not always coinciding, but share some days. I think that bumps that number, that 62% up. Pretty significantly in terms of the American public that has some sort of spiritual leaning during that time of the year. So for that reason alone, I think it makes sense. I don't know if it's going to necessarily boost up productivity. Great argument. I'm not so sure it's going to actually happen. But I think just from a numbers perspective, and from a perspective of the people here in the United States who are celebrating their spirituality, I think it makes sense.
Well, you know something, Terrance? Here's another reason. Here in New York, we have something called alternate side of the street parking, where if you park on the street in New York, you have to move your car 2 or 3 days of the week to have the streets cleaned. And that is suspended on national holidays. You don't have to move your car, and you can stay at work or stay with your family. So if I lived in New York, I would be in favor of any religion or religious group coming into the city and allowing new holidays to go on the calendar. For those of you who don't know this, there are millions of people in New York who have done this, and thousands on any given day, who are literally sitting in their double parked cars for 90 minutes trying to do work, or just sitting there so they can keep their space after the streets are clean. This would be a great, by the way, this is the answer to all of our world wars. If everyone just loves every other culture, because that gives us more days where you don't have to move our darn car. So that's another argument, Terrance. What do you think of that?
Only in New York. Only in New York.
All right, only on RAV, you've got another 2 hours of American Sunrise, the big show coming up with T. Bates and the rest of the crew. It's going to be an amazing show. Thank you, Terrance, for joining me today. I'm Jake Novak. This has been a Tuesday on American Sunrise Early Edition. I'll see you tomorrow.
American Sunrise is a great way to start your morning. Join us Monday through Friday from 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We've got the news of the day and some compelling interviews that you don't want to miss. Here's what you missed from yesterday. This is one of the few mornings I wish I was a newspaper editor-in-chief and I was writing headlines, because the big headline of the day would be Keystone Cops in the Keystone State. And I say all of that because of what happened at the governor's mansion there. Get this, and I know you guys have probably both been watching the story as well. A guy climbs the gate. It's a 7-foot fence. He climbs the fence of the governor's mansion, gets onto the property, somehow eludes police, gets into the governor's house, and sets fire before taking off.
It happened on Passover. Josh Shapiro, Jewish.
Certainly begs the question if it's a hate crime. And my question, as T. Bates was saying, where is it in the mainstream media? Where are we seeing? Why aren't we seeing this story this morning?
It is not okay. And it has to stop.
And the president remains in excellent health. Officials say Trump weighs 224 pounds and has robust cardiac, pulmonary, and neurological health. Blood pressure was normal, and so was his heart rate.
And here is a 78-year-old man who can work 20-hour days, give hour-long speeches without notes, and is an accomplished golfer. It's just not surprising at all that he passed his physical. He passes, most Americans with flying colors.
A man from Butler, PA, that's right, I said Butler, PA, has been federally charged with making threats to assassinate and assault President Trump and other government officials.
This was a good arrest. 10, 20 years ago, when we grew up, you never said anything violent about the president because you'd be afraid that the FBI would crash through your windows and arrest you.
All right, the stock market's capped off a roller coaster week with one of their best weeks of trading in more than a year.
It really is unfortunate that when we look at the different people within the Trump administration, we keep getting different messaging.
The president laying out a very strategic plan to make sure that we slowly bring back the products that we need here, and that the tariffs don't necessarily make items that we need unaffordable due to what he would implement on them.
He always gets a walkout. It's like a prerequisite for him coming.
That was pretty cool to see his walkout there, and I will say how special that he had his 2 grandkids. I see Kai there over his right shoulder.
She is so bad. I am all here for it.
We're in a very holy time of the year. We think in terms of a deliverance.
This is where she washes the dishes.
If you're ever going to allow your Christian faith to rise and to do something for God's chosen people, now is the time. This is the home of Galena. She's 96 years old.
This is what she had to eat for today.
She has one pot with water and wheat.
My father was killed by the Nazis, and I was an orphan. I didn't know about God. But now, in the cold, hungry nights, I prayed for food to the God I've never known. There are good people that love you.
You see the tears. Scripture says joy can come in the morning, and you can be the reason.
This Passover, if you will bless these hurting children of Israel, you will receive God's blessing in return. Your urgent gift today of $25 will help rush a survival food box filled with life-saving essentials and matzah for the Passover holy day. Call, scan, or go online now.
I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, I don't know how much longer she could have waited for us to come.
I can't even grow my food anymore. What will happen to me? I'm doomed to starve.
Tens of thousands of elderly Holocaust survivors in the former Soviet Union are living in extreme poverty, hungry, and forgotten. But through the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, we can bring them hope.
Eggs. It's my favorite food. May you be blessed.
You say to them, we see you and we're here to help.
Please don't delay. Call, scan, or go online.
Just ahead on American Sunrise, White House trade advisor Peter Navarro says we could be seeing 90 trade deals in the next 90 days after President Trump imposed new tariffs. So where does everything stand? We'll tell you. Plus, after a successful first round of talks this past weekend with Iran, there's another round set for Rome this weekend. When can we see this nuclear deal? And finally, how is the Trump administration responding to the arson at the Pennsylvania governor's mansion? We take you to the White House for the latest. Those stories, so much more, as American Sunrise starts right now.
Good morning, America.
Welcome to American Sunrise.
Whether it's culture,
we have breaking news to share with you.
Politics.
President Trump is joining us live now from Florida.
We've got you covered.
This is what it looks like to be a patriot.
We have to protect the American family.
The American dream is still alive.
I'm David Brody.
I'm Terrance.
And I'm Dr. Gina. Good morning, everybody. Nice to be back with you. I'm Dr. Gina. We are live with you from West Palm Beach. Let's bring in Emily Finn and Terrance Bates. They are, just Terrance is in our Denver newsroom. Emily's right here in Palm Beach with me. Good morning, you two.
Well, good morning, Gina. Welcome back. We're so happy to see you here.
Thank you. Nice to be back with you.
Emily, it's good to see you. I'm trying to figure out who this person is there in the middle. Who is this person? It's been a minute. Hey,
It's been a minute.
I'll tell you what, I got to watch the show much of the time because the UK is like 5 hours later than here. And so it was very easy for me to wake up in the morning and watch you all. And you did just a fantastic job the whole time.
Well, thank you very much, Gina.
It is good to have you back, Dr. Gina. And since you are back, how about talking about NPR and PBS? I'm sure you've probably been following this story. The White House is basically going to ask Congress to cancel about $9.3 billion in funding to those two networks. Dr. Gina, I suspect that you probably have some thoughts on that. We're also going to talk about Harvard University. I'm sure you've got some thoughts on that. But let's start with PBS and NPR. Your thoughts. Should that money be cut? I suspect you say yes.
Aside from the ability to whisper the news very well, I would say that I can't think what NPR does well. They do whisper the news very well, though. I've never understood that. You listen to them, there's nothing balanced about it. I've never understood why any taxpayer dollars go to that. You want to listen to NPR? Fine. Fund it privately. I feel like that's become my mantra. Just fund everything privately. Get the government out of everything. I don't know, Emily. What are your thoughts?
I think you're, well, first of all, spot on about the whisper reporting that they do on NPR. I'm definitely going to miss it if they do cut it because that's my midnight meditation as I'm trying to fall asleep at night. You throw on some NPR, you're asleep in 30 seconds.
That's right.
No, but I think what I was suggesting earlier when we were reporting on this, I think it'd be interesting to do kind of pull a Kennedy Center on NPR and PBS, overhaul their editorial boards and bring in people from both sides, people that identify as Democrats, identify as Republicans. I think that would really fix the problem. But however, at least have these services for people, let's say in rural communities, right? These are the only ways that they're able to get their news. It's better to get something as opposed to nothing. So I think that there's a different way to go about it as opposed to just cutting funding entirely. But I think we can all agree about the whisper reporting and that they are way too woke and there needs to be something done about their bias.
Too woke, but somehow they always put us to sleep. I don't know.
Dr. Gina, I figured that you would say fund it on its own, let it get private funding, not government funding. Even after 3 weeks of being away, I'm still able to whisper and I still am able to channel you. I know exactly what you're going to think.
That's
Terrance Bates for NPR here. All right,
perfect.
Dr. Gina, good to have you back. I figured, I really knew, I was like, I know exactly where she's going to go. It's good to know that I still have a good sense of where you stand on the issues. Coming up also, guys, we're going to have a story on what's happening over at Harvard University. I'll have that coming up in news. But first, Dr. Gina, since you're back, would you do us the honor of giving us our Bible verse?
It would be a pleasure. Today's Bible verse is from Isaiah, book 12, verse 2. Behold, God is my salvation, and I will trust and not be afraid. For yes, the Lord is my strength and song. He also has become my salvation. Perfect as we are in the holiest week, really, of the year in our Christian faith. And it's good to remember that he absolutely is our salvation, that without this week, without what happened on the cross, there is no mystery of faith and certainly no salvation. So very special week for Christian households around the world. More fallout and reaction continues to pour in after the arson at the Pennsylvania governor's mansion. President Trump condemned the violence and called the suspect a whack job. Holding back his thoughts as usual, here he is.
Have you attributed a motive through the FBI investigation behind the attack on Governor Josh Shapiro over the weekend?
No, I haven't, but the attacker was not a fan of Trump, I understand, just from what I read and from what I've been told. The attacker basically wasn't a fan of anybody. It's probably just a whack job. And certainly a thing like that cannot be allowed to happen.
How many times has the word whack job been used by a president in the Oval Office? Probably not very many, except for from President Trump. For more, let's bring in Rap Chief White House correspondent Brian Glynn. Not a whack job at all. Brian, the alleged suspect, 38-year-old Cody Balmer, reportedly said he wanted to beat Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro with a hammer. So is this going to ultimately, do you think, be investigated as a hate crime?
I think it will. Good morning, Dr. Gina. Welcome back.
Thank you.
I think it will. And President Trump addressed that on Air Force One on Saturday as well about this incident. And the guy is a, quote, whack job. And, you know, like you said, he was threatened to, if he was inside the house, he would beat the governor with a hammer. But this is how divided our country is, not only politically, but I think spiritually as well. You've got people that, for whatever reason, feel like they need to attack public officials and in various ways. Pam Bondi will look into this. That man will face charges eventually. It's just got to unpack all the investigations. But unfortunately, that is the condition and the state of our country right now. We are broken when there's something like this happens. And I know far too well the threats against public officials. So I can speak on behalf of one, and we really need to crack down on some of this stuff and make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, those kinds of threats are just out of bounds, no matter whether there's a political disagreement or not. Yeah. Brian, I want to switch gears a little bit to this Just the News headline. It basically says that President Trump's trade advisor, Peter Navarro, is implying that the White House possibly is going to be doing 90 deals in 90 days as it relates to tariffs. You see it happening here. There was reporting last week that Italy's prime minister was coming to the White House this week. Any idea when that might happen? And can you expound a little bit on these proposed deals that could be happening when it comes to tariffs?
Yeah, you know, it's been rapid warp speed for these tariffs, Terrance, as President Trump and his team have negotiated with various countries. As soon as they were implemented, the phone is ringing off the hook. From what I've been told, and I don't have a solid confirmation on that on this visit, I think it will happen on Thursday from the Prime Minister of Italy that will be here at the White House. But, you know, Peter Navarro getting criticized by he's got his handful of critics from the other side of the aisle that say this is absolutely impossible. 90 trade deals in 90 days. That can't possibly happen. But this is the same president that negotiated some of the most incredible investment deals we've ever seen. NVIDIA dropping $500 billion on investments here in this country. So I'm not taking out of the possibility 90 trade deals, 90 days. I think it's going to happen.
And Brian, it's important to point out, it's not just President Trump who's making these deals. He's got a team. There are several people involved. So it could be split among several people to make it a reality.
Yeah, it is. He's got a great team around him. And people want to sit back and kind of criticize the approach to all of this. And they're going to nitpick. If we get 87 deals, they'll say, well, we told you 90 was impossible. That's how they view all of this. So he's got a great team. And that's true. That's what's going to happen. I mean, if he gets 50 out of 90, it's going to be considered a complete failure. Although it's, you know, we're saving this country's making money on this and getting us out of this $36 trillion debt that we have.
Well, if it's 50 or 89 or 90, it's still a lot of deals. The Trump administration, they've been hard at work. They've been very busy. But they say that there's going to be more talks with Iran this weekend in Rome. That comes after successful talks this past weekend. What more can you tell us about what's going on with that?
I saw a report this morning that those talks have been possibly shifted from Rome to Amman on this. It seems like some of the Iranian authorities want to shift this meeting. Now, don't know if that has to do with anything that Easter Sunday is coming up. And, of course, Rome being a very heavily, Catholic community, as you could say. So perhaps there's a religious aspect of this coming into the picture. I don't know. But surely President Trump thinks this has been kind of slow walked, that Iran is not to use a phrase in the Oval Office, the cards, they don't have the cards. We've got the cards.
Yeah.
Economically, they've suffered. They're not very strong right now. They need to basically comply with these negotiations. And, of course, they say, Terrance, this is really funny, that the nuclear capability they're working on is for peaceful purposes. I don't know where you find peace in the word nuclear arms, but perhaps the Iranians feel a little differently. But I do see these talks progressing, and ultimately President Trump will have the final word on it.
Brian, to your point, they might need to look up the word peace in the dictionary. I'm not so sure nuclear is in any of those sentences. Really quickly, I'm glad you brought up the issue of potentially moving the talks from Rome over to Oman. Does the White House see that as potentially a stalling tactic? You brought up that it could be religiously motivated, but it almost feels from the outside looking in like it's a stalling tactic.
I think it is. Terrance, you're right on the money. I do think it's a stalling tactic. It's like, throwing a challenge flag on the football field, wanting to review the previous play to give your team a little bit more time to come up with the next play. So I do think it is a stalling tactic. And if I could, before we go, I want to talk about PBS. I have a very good friend that worked for a PBS station, a large market, was fired the day after the subcommittee on DOJ that reviewed funding for PBS and NPR. She was relieved of her duties, no prior incidences on record, very professional, been in television for a long time. It was the only conservative, to her knowledge, in that newsroom, and that newsroom repeatedly used President Trump as a punching bag. Marjorie Taylor Greene was almost public enemy number one. So the bias in these stations exist. And so, to your earlier conversation, defund it all, in my opinion. They have no place getting government, public money, taxpayer money to run these liberal, left-leaning stations. So that's my soapbox for today, Terrance.
It's a good one. Brian, I feel like this has been going on for so long. It's been insidious. And the nice thing about some of these programs that are being destroyed and defunded is that it'll be very hard for the Dems, should they get back in the years to come, to reinstitute all of this, at least not very quickly. So, because it's taken so long for it to happen.
Yeah.
Brian Glenn, as always, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Thank you. Coming up, we check out the hottest headlines from the RAV newsroom with T. Bates. And later, Iran wants the U.S. to believe it has abandoned the Houthis. But is that really the case? We're going to dissect the Islamic Republic's ties to terror. And that is just ahead on American Sunrise.
Prices are going up everywhere. Did you know that the costs associated with auto repairs cost Americans on average $7,500? And let's face it, when it comes to those costs, it's not if you'll need repairs, it's when. Now more than ever, you can't afford to be driving without Ox Car Care. Because with A+ rated Ox, you don't pay for repairs on your car, truck, or SUV. Ox pays.
I really love Ox Car Care because right now I can't afford the costly repairs, and I definitely cannot afford to be without a car.
With Ox, I can take my car to my dealership just like I always have, and they'll take care of everything.
Call the number on your screen right now for a free quote. There's no obligation to find out how low your monthly payments can be. Our Ox Car Care family of customer service reps, coverage specialists, and claims adjusters are all under one roof right here in the U.S. to ensure you always get top quality service from a caring company that stands behind everything we do. And we are the administrators of your claim. We don't farm out your policies somewhere else.
In the past, I had a really bad experience. I was passed around from phone number to phone number just to file a claim. But with Ox, it's just one phone call, one company, and they handle everything.
Today, it's just too risky not to have coverage. And Ox, they make it easy.
Call Ox now and let them pay for your auto repairs. Act now, and Ox will even include free oil changes, free tire rotation, and free roadside assistance.
Ox Car Care is like family. I didn't just feel like a customer, I also felt part of the family.
Just call Ox Car Care now with your make and model and get a free, no-obligation instant quote. But don't wait, or it'll be too late. You need coverage before a repair is needed. Call Ox Car Care right now.
Call 1-800-691-0754 to get a free quote today. That's 1-800-691-0754. Or go online now at oxcarcare.com.
This news break is brought to you by AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens.
Welcome back to American Sunrise. I am Emily Finn, in today for David Brody. Coming up later in the show, we have a story for you. It's a meltdown. The Democrats are crying over the Trump administration deciding to move a portrait of Obama out of an area that is pretty prominent in the White House. They're replacing it with that painting that you see on the right of your screen of course, the moment that Trump thankfully survived the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania. Democrats having a meltdown. We have some of their reactions coming up later in the show. But first, Terrance Bates is standing by with the latest headlines from the Real America's Voice newsroom, sponsored by AMAC.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.
The parade of world leaders continues at the White House. Monday, El Salvador's president joined President Trump at 1600 Pennsylvania. The issue of dangerous gang members who the Trump administration has now classified as terrorists being deported to a Salvadoran prison turned out to be the issue the mainstream media harped on during that sit-down. The big focus was a Salvadoran citizen who was in the United States under a work permit but deported due to his alleged gang ties. However, a federal judge ruled that he was deported illegally and ordered the Trump administration to return him to the United States. The Supreme Court ultimately was called on to decide the issue.
The ruling solely stated that if this individual, at El Salvador's sole discretion, was sent back to our country, that we could deport him a second time. No version of this legally ends up with him ever living here because he is a citizen of El Salvador. That is the president of El Salvador. Your questions about it, per the court, can only be directed to him.
I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
So you can release him inside El Salvador?
Yeah, but I'm not releasing, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. We just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into the releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? No, that's not going to happen.
The Trump administration and El Salvador's government have reached an agreement to house deported illegal aliens at that now infamous Salvadoran prison. Harvard University is back in the headlines, this time for taking on the federal government. The renowned university, which just last year was criticized for its handling of campus protests and anti-Semitism over the war between Israel and Hamas, now faces losing $2.3 billion over its refusal to shut down diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. The university's president says, quote, "No government, regardless of which party is in power, should dictate what private universities can teach, whom they can admit and hire, and which areas of study and inquiry they can pursue." That statement coming in response to a letter from the Department of Education last week in which the DOE reportedly made a number of demands of the university, including a call to do away with DEI programs. The man accused of setting fire to Pennsylvania governor's mansion remains behind bars this morning after being denied bail on Monday during his first court appearance. The 38-year-old's charges include attempted homicide, terrorism, and arson. Investigators say he planned to beat Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro with a sledgehammer if he ran into him inside the mansion. Instead, he's accused of breaking into the home and setting it ablaze. Despite telling the judge he's not suffering from any mental illness, the accused arsonist's mother claims she had reported concerns about his mental health in recent days, but, quote, nobody would help. That's a quick check of your headlines. I'll have more headlines coming your way shortly, including the U.S. and Iran are gearing up for a second round of nuclear talks this weekend. So could we actually see a deal? And if so, how broad will that deal be? Plus, are the people of Iran ready to revolt? The real pulse on the Arab streets coming your way in just a moment. Right now, a quick look at this day in history. It was on this day in 1955 that Ray Kroc opened his first McDonald's fast food restaurant in Des Plaines, Illinois. Since then, McDonald's has reportedly sold hundreds of billions of burgers, and I've probably eaten billions myself. Estimates suggest the fast food chain sells around 75 burgers per second worldwide, which translates to roughly 6.48 million burgers a day. Here's another interesting fact for you. There are more than 1.5 times more McDonald's locations in the United States than there are hospitals. Wow. Around the world, McDonald's may look the same, but their menus continue and contain unique items that reflect local taste. For instance, Germany's Nuremberger are 3 bratwursts on a bun. In Italy, creamy stars or deep-fried star-shaped pieces of cheese are a big hit. In Israel, the McFalafel and the McKebab are on the burner. And in Singapore, the McRice Burger, or a burger in which rice patties are used instead of a bun, is a big seller. Now get that. If that's not enough, in Hong Kong, the fast food joint will actually cater your wedding. Try to sell that here in the United States. The deluxe package, which costs around $1,200, includes a 2-hour rental of a decorated McDonald's, invitations, gifts for 50 guests, a pair of McDonald's balloon wedding rings, a bridal bouquet, an apple pie display, and an MC. Good luck with that. American Sunrise coming your way in another 2 minutes.
My back got injured very bad. I was off work for about a year. I heard about Relief Factor from my wife. I took it every day, 3 times a day for 3 weeks. I'd look at her and I said, "The pain is gone." And she said, "I'm glad it helped." I said, "No, you don't understand. It's gone."
Relief Factor is a daily supplement that doesn't just mask pain, it helps eliminate it. Call or go online now for our 3-week quick start, just $19.95.
Kevin paid off over $12,000 in credit card debt with the help of Consolidated Credit. They cut his interest rates and lowered his payments so he could pay off his debt fast. Call 800-596-8062 for a free consultation.
The bathroom of your dreams is only a phone call away with BCI Bath and Shower. We can make your ordinary bath and shower extraordinary. This is not a cookie cutter design. This is a complete custom build that will fit your every need, and discounts for seniors and military.
Life is precious.
I want to make a point. No matter what happens, I'll always be there for you.
I know. When a woman experiences an unplanned pregnancy, she's faced with a difficult decision. Preborn connects with life-affirming pregnancy clinics across the nation and provides them with free ultrasound sessions for expectant mothers. When a mother sees her baby on an ultrasound and hears their heartbeat, it doubles the chance she'll choose life. With your gift of $28, Preborn will provide a free ultrasound for an expectant mother. Visit preborn.com/life to save a baby's life.
We are wishing you a wonderful morning from this great state of Colorado. Here's a look at Colorado Springs on this Tuesday morning. Welcome back to American Sunrise. We appreciate you being here with us. Another round of nuclear talks between the United States and Iran is scheduled for this weekend. However, the location remains a bit of a sticking point this morning, as Rome was initially expected to host the sit-down, but just this morning, Iranian officials are insisting that the next round once again be held in Oman. The Trump administration says it is satisfied with the first round of talks this past weekend in Oman. While both sides reportedly see a path forward, each also raised concerns about a new deal. So, exactly what can we expect? For more, let's bring in the U.S. Deputy Director for the National Council of Resistance of Iran, Alireza Jafarzadeh. Alireza, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Terrance. Great to be with you.
It is good to have you. I want to get to the bigger picture here momentarily, but the latest news is that the location of the talks is now in question. It was supposed to happen in Rome. Now Iran is coming back and saying, oh no, we want to talk again in Oman. From the outside looking in, I think anybody that's reasonable, I would say, okay, this sounds like it's a stalling tactic. What is your perception?
Actually, the mullahs ruling Iran are masters of deception, delaying tactics, dragging. The one thing that they want to cover is the absolute weakness of the Iran regime. This regime has really no leverage left for them. They're extremely weak in compared to all the previous negotiations starting in 2003 and later 2015. This regime has lost much of the clout it has had in the region, which they used before as leverage, their terrorism as leverage in the nuclear talks. They have lost their biggest ally in Syria, Assad. Hezbollah and Houthis and so many others have been basically weakened or shattered. Inside Iran, the people are, have been raising their voice, have been major rounds of uprisings. So that weakness, which should be highlighted, is getting lost in the midst of the location, the timing, and all of that. You need to keep the focus on the actual substance.
Yeah, but Iran wants people to believe that they've abandoned the Houthi terror group. They haven't. This report from the Atlantic Council lays it all out. They have not seen any evidence of Iran pulling back support from the Houthis. They still have an ambassador in Sana'a who reportedly helps maintain a covert operational force in Yemen through the IRGC. Tell us the truth on this. What's the lowdown?
Well, just like Hezbollah in Lebanon that came to existence and continued their life entirely relying on the Iranian regime, both in terms of arms and money and resources, the same situation has existed with the Houthis. Houthis didn't even exist until the Ayatollahs went behind creating what you see today and known today as the Houthis. Over the past 2 decades, Tehran has been providing them weapons, have been taking their fighters to Iran, training them, or providing training to them through Hezbollah in Lebanon and also some of them in Iraq before. So Tehran has relied on them. The Houthis have relied on Tehran. This issue that Tehran is just abandoned their support or the Houthis are on their own is a big lie, and no one would buy that.
Ali Reza, in the past, we've seen protests break out in Iran against the leadership. Do you think more could break out given the situations going on right now in the Middle East?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the biggest concern that Tehran has is, as Supreme Leader vividly said, is not the foreign war. Rather, he's concerned about the resurge of the uprisings in Iran. Remember, since 2018, there have been 9 rounds of major uprisings in all 31 provinces of Iran. People have been chanting death to the Supreme Leader. They have been chanting death to the oppressor, be the Shah or the Supreme Leader. People are rejecting the entirety of this regime. The economy is in shambles. The value of the Iranian currency has lost, half of it. And the executions have gone up since last August that the new president, Pezeshkian, has taken office. Over 1,000 prisoners, including political prisoners and women, have been executed by the Iran regime. What does it tell you? It shows the fear of the Iran regime from its own population. They're concerned that especially with the lining up of all the vectors and pressure on the Iran regime, these uprisings could resurge and they may not survive this time. That's why it's so important that this time that the regime has come to the negotiating table, they are coming there as out of a sign of desperation, weakness. This is the time to hold them accountable and shut down the entire nuclear weapons program of the Iran regime once and for all.
Ali Reza, what responsibility does the Arab world have in holding Iran accountable? And when I say the Arab world, I'm thinking of countries like Egypt, I'm thinking of Turkey, Jordan, Saudi Arabia. The reality is, anytime Iran is talking with Western powers, there is a religious divide that is always going to limit the amount of diplomacy that can happen. When you're talking about the countries that I mentioned, there is a common religion, and it seems to me that they've got to be at least part of the conversation or part of the pressure on Iran. I'd love to get your thoughts.
Oh, absolutely. The Iran regime, even though they claim they're, a Muslim, but in reality, they are representing a very backward mentality, Islamic extremism that is targeting the vast majority of the population in Iran who are Muslims. They are the main victims, but also targeting the countries in the region. Ask any of those countries you mentioned. They will tell you the history of terrorism by the Iran regime in those countries. They even use the religious holy month of, and try to, in Mecca, trying to create riots. And so their interest is actually to see an end to the rule of the clerics, a free Iran, a democratic Iran that would be non-belligerent, that would live in coexistence with its neighbors. Unfortunately, the policy of terrorism and export of terrorism by the Iran regime has worked over the past few years, frightening the others. And also the hostage diplomacy, that Tehran took hostages and got money for it. That policy of appeasement by Western nations has had its own impact on the countries in the region. That's why if you shift the whole equation, you build pressure on the Iran regime, abandon entirely the policy of appeasement in the past, it will have its own positive impact among those Arab nations. They will feel that, they now have a stand, they can stand up against the Ayatollahs. You have to make sure that the whole world understands that this regime is not 10 feet tall, and they are the head of the stake, that lies in Tehran. So does the solution. Honestly speaking, the ultimate solution to ending the nuclear threat, the terrorism of the Iran regime, and whatever they're doing in the region is end to the rule of the clerics. And of course, that's the responsibility of the people of Iran and the organized resistance.
We'll have to leave the conversation there. Again, talks will be happening this weekend, be they in Oman or in Rome. We shall see. Ali Reza, we appreciate your time, my friend. It is always good to talk to you.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Coming up here on American Sunrise, some of the best ways to keep our mental health strong when times really get tough. We'll take a look at that and so much more ahead here on American Sunrise. Stick around.
Guys, if you plan to retire in the next 20 years, or if you've already retired, I have a message for you that you need to hear. Central banks, BRIC nations, and our allies are pumping trillions of dollars back into America, but every dollar they send could make your savings worth less. Hi, I'm Donald Trump Jr., and I just want you to be prepared for the future. So protect your hard-earned savings with gold. A gold IRA from my trusted friends at the Birch Gold Group offers you the safety net of gold with the tax advantage status of a retirement account. To see how it's done, click the link below to get a free info kit on gold IRAs. This kit reveals why gold IRAs are exploding in popularity, so do it now. What do you have to lose? It's free and there's no obligation. Click the link below to get your free info kit from the Birch Gold Group.
There's nothing worse than losing your dog before their time. So why do so many dog foods contain awful things a human would never eat? To save his pets, world-famous veterinarian Dr. Marty knew he had to change what was in their bowl.
That's why I created Dr. Marty Nature's Blend, my breakthrough formula that's changed everything about dog food.
Nature's Blend contains nothing but all-natural ingredients, designed to help dogs with everything from digestive issues to itching and paw licking, even moving around better. And that's because Nature's Blend is freeze-dried. So instead of destroying the nutrients with high heat, we gently preserve them, and you'll see the difference in your dog.
Take it from a veterinarian with over 50 years of experience saving dogs' lives. I have never seen a food make this much impact on a dog's health.
Such a huge difference in her health. More energy, more playful, no more pooping issues. He's healthier, he looks better.
Dr. Marty has thousands of 5-star reviews. And for a limited time, get up to 54% off Dr. Marty Nature's Blend, plus a free gift with our special TV offer. Call or go to drmartypets.com/TV. That's drmartypets.com/TV.
Fort Lauderdale, lots of water there. Lots of water here too, though. Welcome back to American Sunrise. I'm Dr. G. Happy to be back in the saddle with you. Thanks for joining us. Time now for today's health news, sponsored, of course, by the Wellness Company. And under the microscope today, some amazing tips to improve your overall mental health and acuity. First, experts say that mental breaks top the list of things you should do each day for mental fitness. Whatever it is that calms you down, whether it's reading a book, taking a hot bath, meditation, prayer, it's important to just take an intentional break away from the stress and everyday worries each day. These simple things will help bring down your stress levels. We talk about it here on this show all the time. Grandma said it, and the Bible lays it out clearly. But still, I, for one, am guilty of forgetting to focus on what is good and positive and right, and to be thankful. Count your blessings, name them one by one, just like the song says. Studies prove that those who are grateful and positive and focus on that gratitude are mentally healthier, very much so, than those who don't. Even 5 minutes per day of just sitting there counting your blessings, being thankful, can make a big difference in the rest of your day. Finally, and you knew it was coming, limit your time on social media. Experts recommend avoiding social media, especially at the start and the finish of each day. Constant social media linked to heightened anxiety, depression symptoms too, and erratic sleeping patterns. Instead of the constant scrolling through Instagram, go back to the second tip and just count your blessings. Just go through the things you're thankful for. For one, I love listening to those sleep Bible apps at night. It really helps me get to sleep. And I love some good music in the morning to dance my way into every single day, something you will never need to see right here on this show. But it is a new day in America and a new administration in Washington, D.C. There's a lot of excitement and optimism about the future. Also a lot of work to do, though, especially when it comes to fixing our broken healthcare system. The forces that are responsible for breaking it aren't going to simply fade away. The challenges our system faces won't disappear overnight. So now more than ever, you want to be prepared. And that, my friends, is where the Wellness Company comes in. Their doctors are medical professionals. You can trust their line of prescription medical kits. They are the gold standard when it comes to keeping you safe and healthy, whether it's the medical emergency kit, the contagion kit, the first aid kit, or the travel kit. These prescription kits contain an assortment of life-saving medications and guidebooks to assist in the proper use of the medications in the kits. From flu to strep throat to COVID to bird flu, a trip to the beach, a trip overseas, the Wellness Company has a kit designed just to keep you and your family safe. Make America healthy again. It starts right at home. Do your part. Protect the health of yourself and your family. Go to twc.health/RAV. Give it an order today. That's twc.health/RAV. Use the promo code RAV. That'll save you 10%. All right. For more, let's bring in the Chief of Maternal and Prenatal Health for the Wellness Company, Dr. James Thorpe. Dr. Thorpe, always great to see you. Tariffs have topped our list of nonstop talk in Washington and across the country. So over the last week, that's what we've mostly discussed. How did we get here? Why has so much of our prescription drug supply chain been outsourced to India and China?
Yes. Thank you for having me on your show. This has been a long-standing trend in the United States of America, really over the last 3 decades, is loss of our manufacturing sector, and we've really turned into a service economy, especially with regard to drugs. So, as you know, the vast majority of our drugs are coming from China and India, either the drugs themselves or the components needed to manufacture the drugs. And that's a problem. And I have a lot of faith in President Trump. As you well know, his book, The Art of the Deal, he's an ultimate negotiator. And what he's done with these tariffs just so far, in my opinion, is nothing short of amazing.
Yeah. If we don't know our past, though, right, we're doomed to repeat it. And past administrations have led to the place where we are, Dr. Thorpe. So I guess my question is, we hear a lot of things about former administrations taking money from foreign governments. Is this part of how we got here to where foreign governments really do the manufacturing of the drugs that we take?
Well, it absolutely is. This is proven. Past administrations, many of them, Johnson and many of them way back to Clinton, have taken massive amounts of bribes from the Chinese. They've let the Chinese infiltrate the White House. There's an incredible documentary on Tucker Carlson just recently, just on that. And it's just amazing how, starting with the Clinton administration, how literally these politicians were paid millions to give away all of our technology.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think the tariffs are going to help this situation? And do you think it will be in short order? Because I look at things like even Advil, if you take over-the-counter medicines, a lot of them, they'll have the red dyes on them. These are banned in other countries, but it's just fine for China to send drugs to America with the red dyes on the outside of the capsules, and you can't find them without them.
Exactly. And yes, I am optimistic that we're going to navigate through these tariffs. When you look at the tariffs, they're really fair. They're so fair. And we're not asking for more than they're taxing or tariffing us. In fact, we're asking less. And now we have 77 countries that are bowing to the White House and President Trump. This is nothing short of amazing. 75 countries are, this is the art of the deal. This is what President Trump has done best. And I love his manner with President Xi of China, right? He says he blasts them and increases the tariffs. And in the same sense, he says, I really like President Xi. He's a dear friend, but he's got to realize the world is against him. 75 other countries have come and are now realizing, we're not going to let America be literally taken advantage of.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah.
And the world knows that, and China knows that.
Yeah, we're almost out of time, Dr. Thorpe, but I have to ask you, because the naysayers out there, the pearl clutchers, they keep saying, oh, well, these tariffs are going to drive up costs and cause shortages in the short term. Just your quick 30-second comment on that.
They will. They will drive up, and we have to be prepared for that. And, that's especially relevant to the wellness company, because this is what we've been doing for the last 2 years. We've been advocating the American people to stock up on these medical kits. And one more thing with the wellness company, we've made a commitment. All of those medicines in the kits, you can get refills on individually. We're not going to increase those prices despite our costs are dramatically rising.
Oh, interesting. Well, that is certainly something that we appreciate as we are consumers who are all going to be taking part in whatever it is that's happening, that I think ultimately, as you described, Dr. Thorpe, will be good. And we're thankful the wellness company is there for us. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you, Gina.
Coming up, the left is having a meltdown about some new artwork changes at the White House, because, of course, that's what's important. I will tell you which president's portrait was moved to make room for a stunning new painting of President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. All of this when we return. Stay where you are.
Yikes. Leaky refrigerator coil card.
Oh no.
But your future is bright with an American Home Shield warranty to protect your covered home system.
Don't worry, be warranty.
Kevin paid off over $12,000 in credit card debt with the help of Consolidated Credit. They cut his interest rates and lowered his payments so he could pay off his debt fast. Call 800-596-8062 for a free consultation.
Your wallet is always in danger. Criminals can hack your information without you even knowing. Introducing Slim Mint, an ultra-thin RFID blocking wallet that keeps your cards and cash protected. Slim Mint uses the latest RFID blocking technology to prevent thieves from stealing your info. It's ergonomic ergonomically designed to optimize space and keep your belongings organized. With the auto-locking Slim Mint, your cards and money stay securely in place. It has a built-in cash clip and a flexible outer band to fit your additional cards and cash. Call or click now and get Slim Mint for just $29.99. Order in the next 5 minutes and you'll get an instant $10 discount. So it's only $19.99. But wait, due to rising costs, this may be your last chance to get Slim Mint at this low price. There's a strict limit of 3 Slim Mint wallets while supplies last. Don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-608-4172. Call or visit slimmintwallet.com. So call 1-800-608-4172 now.
Hi, Chef Daniel Green here with Rice Robot, the 1, 2, 3 rice cooker. Watch, 1 add the white cup for rice, 2 add the blue cup for water, 3 click it and let Rice Robot perfectly cook it.
The secret is perfect cook technology for even cooking. Then Rice Robot senses when it's done, auto stops and keeps it warm to serve.
It won't burn, overcook or undercook, guaranteed.
Get the complete Rice Robot cooking system, all for just $39.99. Order now.
Welcome back. I'm American Sunrise correspondent Emily Finn. Time now to stay awake, not woke, brought to us by the 1775 Coffee Company. 1775 just launched Rejuvenate, the first anti-aging coffee of its kind. It's the first coffee infused with CAAKG, a clinically studied ingredient shown to support strength, energy, and healthy aging at the cellular level. As we age, CAAKG levels drop, leading to a slower recovery, less energy, and feeling older than we should. 1775 Rejuvenate brings longevity, support without changing a thing. Just better coffee that does more for you. And right now, for a limited time, you can get their longevity bundle, over $250 worth of premium coffee and gear, for just $99. But here's the catch. They only made 1,000 of these bundles, and when they're gone for good. You get 2 bags of their Rejuvenate anti-aging coffee, a rare pea berry roast, one of the most elite beans on earth, less than 5% of coffee crops worldwide, and of course, exclusive 1775 merch that you won't find in stores, made for people who still believe in America first. This is small batch, single origin, roasted every week in Miami. Just real coffee with one powerful proven ingredient built to help you feel your best longer. Head to 1775coffee.com/Rav and grab your longevity bundle while it's still in stock. All right, well, now that we are caffeinated, it's time to stay awake, not woke. And who is woke today? Democrats having a meltdown over the Trump administration, making some decoration changes in the White House. Libs took to social media to complain about the new artwork in the entrance hall, a painting commemorating the assassination attempt on President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. But here's the catch, everyone. It replaced a portrait of former President Obama, sending Democrats into a tizzy. White House Director of Communications Stephen Chu says the Obama portrait was actually moved just a few feet away, telling a social media user to, quote, pipe down. In an article, The Hill also acknowledged that it's not unusual for the presidential portraits at the White House to be rearranged after a new commander-in-chief enters the Oval Office. Let's bring in Gina, Bo, and Terrance for more here. I mean, Gina, this outrage just seems so misplaced. I mean, if I was moving into a house, I'd get rid of the pictures of everyone else. I'd have pictures of me in my house. Doesn't that just make sense?
Yeah, it would be really, really weird to have all these pictures of all these people who've done all these horrendous things, really, to the Trump family, said horrendous things about your own children, criticized you, prosecuted you unjustly, accused you of things you haven't done. And you've got to deal with all those faces staring at you every single morning when you walk into work. Who could blame President Trump? And we have, in that moment, that Butler, Pennsylvania picture, really the most historic, the most heroic picture in our lifetime. And that can't replace Obama? I don't get it. I don't know.
Well, I think, Terrance, I had to replace the portrait of you, actually, in my home. It was right next to the one of the Memphis Bridge. So I'm sorry that I had to do that, but I'm still paying homage to you.
Did you just compare me to West Memphis, Arkansas? I think you just compared me to West Memphis, Arkansas. That's a little Memphis joke. He gets it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that it made me think, what would be the portrait if you were president in your entryway? I mean, I think, Gina, for you, it would have to be Colby, would it not? He'd have to have a place in there, maybe?
It might have to be Colby, Bo. That's a good one. But yeah, Terrance, what would it be for you in your entrance?
Oh, Guy, I mean, of course it would be a picture of me. And here's the point. I admit it. I am that self-involved. Yes, I am. And it would be a picture of me. But the reality is President Trump has the purview of putting whatever he chooses in the interest because he is the current occupant of the White House. And so if he decides to move a picture of President Obama, that's his right. That's in his purview to do so. Now, the reality is many on the left are upset because they see the relationship between President Obama and President Trump being an adversarial one. They tend to think that the two men don't like each other, and so they think it's a personal thing. It's not a personal thing. It's President Trump's right if he chooses to move whatever portrait it be it Obama, be it George Washington, or whomever else. That's just what it is.
Absolutely, his right. And you guys, I know we've been having a lot of fun with this morning, but let's just, take a moment to remember Butler, Pennsylvania, that assassination attempt, like you brought up, Gina, it was such a turning point for the campaign, such a turning point for this country. And I think it's great, almost like a vision board, right, for President Trump to be able to have this in the White House, to be able to look at every day and remember that this is why he's fighting. He is the target, protecting all of Americans that believe in him and believe in the policies that he is implementing every day. I think it's a really beautiful thing that they were able to put that up in the White House.
Yeah, agreed.
By the way, Bo, my portrait would be of me eating a Twinkie. That's what mine would be. It wouldn't be no fist in the air. It would be me eating a Twinkie. I think that would be ideal. It would be iconic. There you go.
I like it, Terrance. I like it. We're going to put one up in the newsroom here for you.
And then poor RFK, every time he walked in to you eating a Twinkie,
oh,
would
no.
I know.
Be clutching his
I
neck.
didn't even think about that. Yeah.
That meme of him, that face where he's like, disappointed. All right, guys, great discussion. Coming up, the White House is gearing up for an extraordinary Holy Week. Find out what they have planned to bring Christianity back into the spotlight in the U.S. when we return.
Stay tuned to get a free automatic toilet bowl cleaner from Mermaid. Your sink stopper's broken, but fixing a drain is such a pain. Not anymore. Introducing Mermaid Drain Magic, the instant solution to most broken drains. Simply remove and replace. In just seconds, you can fill and drain with a simple press of a button. Drain Magic makes replacing your old, broken, rusty, even missing sink stoppers fast and easy.
Practically took me 5 seconds to replace. It absolutely made my sink look like brand new.
Honestly, I couldn't believe it. How could it work so well, look so good, and install so quickly?
And forget clogging, because Drain Magic's anti-clogging basket helps catch debris before it goes down the drain. When the basket's full, just discard. Helps prevent clogs in your sink by catching hair, food, even jewelry. Drain Magic uses a silicone gasket that creates a watertight seal without messy plumber's putty. Look, this sink was filled hours ago and the water still remains. Press the spring-loaded stopper and the water's gone. Made of brass and finished in high-quality chrome, Drain Magic is rust-resistant and built to last.
It's made out of metal, not plastic, and it actually has some weight to it. Yeah, this is the real deal.
Just looks like a new sink now.
Order your 2-in-1 drain solution, Mermaid Drain Magic, today for only $19.99. And with every order, you're going to get a Mermaid automatic toilet bowl cleaner absolutely free. Just drop it in the tank for up to 3 months of hands-free cleaning. Mermaid's ultra-concentrated formula cleans and deodorizes with every flush. But wait, due to rising costs, this may be your last chance to get Mermaid Drain Magic at this incredibly low price with free Mermaid toilet bowl cleaner. There's a strict limit of 3. Call or click now to order.
Call 1-800-519-3206 or visit getdrainmagic.com. So call 1-800-519-3206 or visit getdrainmagic.com. Order now.
God bless the USA.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
All right, everybody. Again, happy Holy Week. Welcome back to American Sunrise. We celebrate the salvation of this week with you. It is now time for our moment of faith that is brought to us by our good friends Lee Greenwood and the God Bless the USA Bible. And in focus today, the Trump administration says they are planning an extraordinary Holy Week with the newly formed White House Faith Office taking lead on scheduling religious events ahead of Easter Sunday. The White House Faith Office says President Trump is set to mark Holy Week with various events, a special video message, a pre-Easter dinner, an Easter service for White House staffers. In a post on X, the president released a message on Holy Week saying that he and Melania could join in prayer with Christians celebrating the crucifixion and the resurrection, most importantly, of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Let's bring in the Director of Priests for Life, Father Frank Pavone, for a discussion. Father, it is just, I don't know, it's heartening to see our faith being unabashedly celebrated at the White House again. Tell us what you think this really means to our nation and to our future.
Oh, Gina, it's so refreshing, isn't it? And, three things are happening here simultaneously. Number one, as president of the United States, President Trump is affirming what most presidents have affirmed, that religion is good for America and that this is a place where religion should thrive. Its expression should be unhindered and without any fear of reprisal. And he said that throughout his campaign, and he's living it now in his second administration. So that's point number one. As president, this is a very appropriate thing for him to do. Number two, he's expressing his own faith. He and Melania are Christians. They acknowledge what we're celebrating during this Holy Week, that Jesus is the Son of God. He died for our sins. He opened the gates of heaven. He rose from the dead. But there's a third thing. And by the way, his expression of his faith as a president does not in any way infringe on the religious freedom of any other American. Any American can be whatever faith they want or no faith at all. However, faith is essential for freedom, because if God is in charge of our life, that means no other human being or institution can be. And then third, he's also cleansing, because we have been through a terrible oppression of religious freedom under the Democrats. They're still on that page, unfortunately. That's why we can't let them get back into power. But the Biden administration was, frankly, hell for religion and faith and values and the dignity of life, etc. So there's a cleansing, there's a purging going on. There's a swinging of the pendulum with a little extra force, because we know now that we're in a new day for America. And Gina, that means a new day for Christians and a new day for faith.
Father, you're one who has been persecuted for your faith, within your faith. Tell us where you are in that fight.
Well, I am fortunately enjoying the support of so many people, including so many of our viewers, to continue my full-time mission to protect the unborn children from abortion and to heal the wounds of those who've had abortion. Some bishops in the Catholic Church don't like the work that we're doing, and they've been all over the map trying to, really it's lawfare against me within the church. And so they've basically said, you can't function as a priest. I've said I've never left the priesthood, and I'm not leaving my full-time pro-life commitment either. So the bottom line is that the work is continuing to flourish, and they're out there still holding on to their cancel culture.
In a religion that's supposed to all be pro-life. It's very confusing for those of us watching this, but you've been a stalwart on this. Father Frank Pavone, thank you for being with us. Back with the second hour of American Sunrise in 2.
Introducing the limited edition God Bless the USA Bible, inspired by Lee Greenwood's hit song and the most recognized patriotic anthem in America, God Bless the USA. The God Bless the USA large print leather-bound King James Bible also contains America's founding documents, the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the Pledge of Allegiance, along with a handwritten chorus to Lee Greenwood's song, God Bless the USA. With its large print and slim design, This Bible invites you to explore God's Word anywhere, anytime. The God Bless the USA Bible makes the perfect gift and cherished family heirloom keepsake to pass on to future generations. Designed for an easy reading experience in the trusted King James Version translation, this large print Bible is perfect to take to church, Bible study, work, and for traveling. Order yours today at GodBlessTheUSABible.com.
What do you do when your tire goes flat and there's no air anywhere to fix that? You reach for Bullseye Pro, the smarter, faster, hands-free way to fill it up with air. Bullseye Pro is equipped with a rechargeable lithium-ion power plant. So fast, so strong, and so convenient. It's like putting the power of an air compressor in the palm of your hand. Look, you can inflate all 4 tires of your car on a single charge, or inflate a bag full of soccer balls at practice. Bullseye Pro is so advanced, it has a built-in smart pressure digital sensor that gauges and automatically stops when the set tire pressure is reached. Plus, it can be 100% hands-free. You simply set the target pressure and walk away, keeping you out of harm's way. Bullseye Pro is lightweight, durable, and powerful enough to inflate this massive monster truck tire. Plus, it has 4 ultra-bright LED lights to safely inflate at night. Bullseye Pro comes with 3 custom air nozzles on board, so you can easily inflate pool toys, exercise balls, and more. Forget driving to the gas station. Bullseye Pro is your anywhere, anytime inflation station. Call or go online now and get the complete Bullseye Pro inflation system, all for the factory direct price of just $79.99. It comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free. That's right, free shipping. But to really inflate this offer, we'll give you a 50% discount on a second one. You get it all. An incredible value for one low price. Call or go online to order now.
To order, call 1-800-976-9718 or go to getbullseyepro.com. So call 1-800-976-9718. That's 1-800-976-9718 or order online at getbullseyepro.com. Order now.
Coming up on the second hour of American Sunrise, investors started out the week strong on Wall Street. Find out if the president's temporary tariff exemption of smartphones and computers continues to rally. Plus, the president wants to deport more dangerous illegals to El Salvador, but does that include U.S. citizens who are considered violent criminals? We'll tell you. Also, why are President Trump's legal challenges mainly presided over Democrat-appointed judges? The details are next. This is Hour 2 on American Sunrise, and we're going to start right now.
Good morning, America.
Welcome to American Sunrise.
Whether it's culture,
we have breaking news to share with you.
Politics. President Trump is joining us live now from Florida.
We've got you covered.
This is what it looks like to be a patriot.
We have to protect the American family.
The American dream is still alive.
I'm David Brody.
I'm Terrance.
And I'm Dr. Gina. All right, welcome back to the second hour of American Sunrise. I'm Dr. Chi, live in West Palm Beach. Joining me in the Palm Beaches is Bo Davidson, who is in for David Brody today. David will be back tomorrow. And also Terrance Bates, who's in our Denver newsroom. Good morning, both of you gentlemen.
Good morning, and happy Holy Week to both of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Happy Holy Week to you, Bo. Dr. Gina, welcome back. I have to say, I was in the chat and some funny comments about your return. One of them is that you're back from your deportation to the UK. I thought that was rather funny. The second post was, all right, Dr. Gina is back. We want to hear more about the wedding. So, Dr. Gina, can you give us about 30, 45 seconds? Give us a recap of the wedding?
Oh, you're so sweet. Yeah, it was an absolutely beautiful wedding. Ireland is spectacular this time of year. And of course, it was just a fairy tale backdrop there at Ashford Castle. They did a great job. My daughter had her dog in her wedding. She married Tony Guilfoyle, and it was just a really beautiful time. The photographs aren't back yet. You guys asked me to bring photographs. It takes a few weeks, as you know, for professional photographers to get it. When they come back, I will definitely share some of those with you. But right now, the dog wedding sitter who did the dogs in the wedding. She has a video up on my Instagram for those of you who want to see the dogs in the wedding. Yeah, you know, you raise them like this, Terrance. They're going to love dogs. My daughter loves her dog, her little Charlie. So she was in the wedding, and Colby was...
It's funny because as you were saying all that, I was thinking like mother, like daughter.
Like mother, like daughter. Colby was along for the whole thing as well. It was really beautiful. And I will tell you something. Skye, Scotland, the island of Skye, is the most beautiful place I've ever seen in my entire life, out of a movie. So there you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it is good to have you back, Dr. Gina, and congratulations to you. All right, guys, let's get to a couple of the headlines of the day because there's a lot to talk about. The parade of world leaders continues at the White House. On Monday, it was El Salvador's president who joined President Trump at 1600 Pennsylvania. The issue of dangerous gang members who the Trump administration has now classified as terrorists being deported to a Salvadoran prison turned out to be the issue that the mainstream media really harped on. The big focus was a Salvadoran citizen who was in the United States under a work permit but deported due to his alleged gang ties. However, you may remember a federal judge ruled that he was deported illegally and ordered the Trump administration to return him to the United States. The Supreme Court ultimately was called on to decide the issue.
The ruling solely stated that if this individual, at El Salvador's sole discretion, was sent back to our country, that we could deport him a second time. No version of this legally ends up with him ever living here because he is a citizen of El Salvador. That is the president of El Salvador. Your questions about it, per the court, can only be directed to him.
I don't have the power to return him to the United States. So you can release him inside El Salvador? Yeah, but I'm not releasing, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. We just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into the releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? No, that's not going to happen.
The Trump administration and El Salvador's government have reached an agreement to house deported illegal aliens at the now infamous Salvadoran prison. The man accused of setting fire to the Pennsylvania governor's mansion remains behind bars after being denied bail Monday during his first court appearance. The 38-year-old's charges include attempted homicide, terrorism, as well as arson. Investigators say he planned to beat Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro with a sledgehammer if he happened to run into him inside the mansion. Instead, however, the guy is accused of breaking into the home and setting it ablaze. Despite telling the judge that he is not suffering from any mental illness, the accused arsonist's mother claims that she had reported concerns about his mental health in recent days, but, quote, nobody would help. The first all-female spaceflight in over six decades is in the books this morning after TV host Gayle King, pop star Katy Perry, former NASA rocket scientist Aisha Bowe, along with Amanda Nguyen and film producer Carrie Ann Flynn blasted into space. The group was joined by Jeff Bezos' fiancée Lauren Sanchez aboard Bezos' Blue Origin spaceflight. Monday's mission marked the first all-female spaceflight since Soviet cosmonaut Valentina Tereshkova became the first woman in space back in 1963. She orbited Earth during a nearly 3-day solo flight. Blue Origin is an emerging company when it comes to space tourism. The company's website says it aims to radically reduce the cost of access to space. That's a quick check of your headlines. Now, let's get you over to Bo.
Thank you, Terrance. Could President Donald Trump's tariff trade war hurt future GOP elections? Well, some Republicans believe so. According to The Hill, GOP senators are hoping history doesn't repeat itself like it did in 1932 and in 1982. Both of those elections saw Republicans lose seats as a result of trade wars, inflation, or voters' view of the U.S. economy. Joining us now with political insight is John Solomon, the editor-in-chief of Just the News. Welcome, John. You know, I know some people might be concerned you're not in a suit. I know that you're not mimicking Vladimir Zelensky, but you did have something happen to you.
You're back in exercise. Yeah, I tripped and fell, so I'm sorry, guys. I'll be dressed up in a couple weeks.
Okay. Well, we're sorry that you broke your arm, and we hope that you heal back. But how concerned should Republicans actually be about tariffs hurting their future elections?
I think it all comes down to the deal maker. If Donald Trump can make those 90 deals, 100 deals, 120 deals, Republicans will have it wind at their back. They'll be able to argue that for the first time in 4 decades, that America got better trade deals, that American workers got better opportunities, that American factories get better expansion capabilities. If the president can't cut those deals and the tariffs are still in place, then this will be a difficult election for Republicans. But right now, when you look out at the early signs are that almost every country that had a significant trade imbalance, with the exception of China, is moving towards making a deal. They can't withstand a trade war with the United States. They don't want a trade war with the United States. If Donald Trump can capitalize on that and get the deals, the art of the deal, tariff style, that he's so good at doing, he will have a strong hand going into the 2026 election. And the early signs are he's moving in that direction rather quickly. Usually these trade deals can take 6, 8 months, a year, 2 years. I think a lot of these will be done in the summer from my early reporting. And then the real question is, does China blink or does the United States blink, or is there a bilateral meeting to get a better deal with China? We'll see how that plays out. But if most of the other countries except China are in good deals with the United States at the start of the 2026 campaign, I don't think Republicans are going to have a lot to worry about.
John, to follow up on what you just said, you've got a headline here on Just the News. It says Trump supporter Italian PM Meloni will arrive at White House in new role EU tariff deal maker. How critical will that meeting be with Prime Minister Meloni, particularly since she is basically coming to represent the interests of the European Union?
Trump has a great relationship with her, and I think at the end of the day, the fact that she's here so early tells you how interested the EU is in getting a deal and also sending the person most likely to get a deal from President Trump. And so I think it's a sign that the EU is very serious about getting a deal and that the deal will get in place quickly. I bet you there will be outline sketched today. She'll have to take it back to the EU countries to see if they're willing to accept it. But I do think it's a sign that Donald Trump's tariff policies are actually working. People are coming here to the negotiating table quickly because they don't want to end up on the short side of this tariff war. So I think, Meloni's got a great trust with Trump. He likes her. And I think there's a tremendous opportunity here for the entire EU and, a couple dozen countries to have a trade deal very quickly at the front end of this negotiating round.
Meanwhile, John, President Trump hosted El Salvador President Nayib Bukele in the White House yesterday as the pair discussed Trump's mass deportation plans. During that meeting, Trump said deportations of homegrown criminals to El Salvador are not out of the question. Take a listen.
I don't know what the laws are. We always have to obey the laws, but we also have homegrown criminals that push people into subways, that hit elderly ladies on the back of the head with a baseball bat when they're not looking, that are absolute monsters. I'd like to include them in the group of people to get them out of the country, but you'll have to be looking at the laws on that, Steve.
John, do you foresee this happening?
I don't think so, unless we create a private prison, program with El Salvador that's under the United States control. The U.S. Constitution is pretty clear. You get and pay your crimes here. But I think it's really an effort by Donald Trump to highlight how bad things got with Joe Biden. One of the great things that Donald Trump does is there's an old Billy Joel song, I Go to Extreme. He tries to give people the outside, frustration and a moment to excise your frustration. But he was very clear. We're going to go comply with the law. I don't think courts are going to allow it, and he won't need to. Listen, what Donald Trump is doing is at record speed getting the illegal aliens out of the country, freeing up room in our prisons to put American citizens who also belong in jail. And I think that process will be orderly. It'll be quick, and already people are starting to see some relief in these cities. They're starting to see crime go down. There's a psychological factor of people also feeling safer. But I don't think this will end up with a whole bunch of American citizens spending time in El Salvador and jails. I don't think that's on the table.
Switching gears a bit, John, a new report from your Just the News states that more than 3/4 of judges hearing legal challenges to President Trump's policies and executive actions were appointed by Democrats. Tell us what this means for Trump's future legal cases, do you think?
Well, it means there's going to be a lot of reversals, as we've already seen. Just ask Judge Boasberg how quickly he got batted down by the Supreme Court because he took a case that wasn't in his jurisdiction and he ruled against Supreme Court precedent. What this statistic really shows, it was dug up by a university law center institution, sort of a think tank, is that the Democrats and the liberals have been judge shopping to keep trying to find judges in blue cities, even if the jurisdiction doesn't extend there. The more the upper courts, the appellate courts and the Supreme Court wade through this, the more and more those rulings are going to get overturned. And I think at the end of the day, Donald Trump will have a good case of boomerang. He'll see a lot of these original rulings boomerang back on the judges. And at some point, the judges will settle in and say, it's not worth getting embarrassed by the Supreme Court or my appellate circuit. And they'll start to go back to the way the law used to be administered. Meanwhile, Congress has a chance in just 2 weeks to rein in nationwide injunctions. It's already passed the House. If they can get a deal in the Senate, it could get slipped into to the big beautiful bill, the CR, or it could be slipped into some other legislation. But Congress also could clip these judges' wings pretty quickly. But the statistics are just a clear proof of the judge shopping that we've always thought was going on.
Well, John Solomon, thank you so much for joining us today. Feel better, my friend, and heal up soon, okay?
Sounds good, guys. Talk to you soon. Thanks.
Thanks, John.
Thanks a million. Well, next on American Sunrise, what did an immigration judge rule about deporting pro-Hamas supporter Mahmoud Khalil? Find out. Also, a live look at the futures on Wall Street right now. And American Sunrise returns right after this.
Prices are going up everywhere. Did you know that the costs associated with auto repairs cost Americans on average $7,500? And let's face it, when it comes to those costs, it's not if you'll need repairs, it's when. Now more than ever, you can't afford to be driving without Ox Car Care. Because with A+ rated Ox, you don't pay for repairs on your car, truck, or SUV. Ox pays.
As a certified mechanic, I've never seen labor and part costs so high. Driving without an auto protection plan is simply not an option.
Ox Car Care paid for the tow truck, paid for my rental car, then paid for the repair. It's the best investment I've ever made.
With Ox, I can take my car to my dealership just like I always have, and they'll take care of everything.
Call the number on your screen right now for a free quote. There's no obligation to find out how low your monthly payments can be. Our Ox Car Care family of customer service reps, coverage specialists, and claims adjusters are all under one roof right here in the U.S. to ensure you always get top quality service from a caring company that stands behind everything we do.
They simplified things. They listened to me. I felt like I was in good hands.
I've tried other auto warranty companies, and they just pass you from phone number to phone number just to file a claim. Now with Ox, it's just one phone call, one company, and they handle everything.
Call Ox now and let them pay for your auto repairs. Act now, and Ox will even include free oil changes, free tire rotation, and free roadside assistance.
If you wait until a repair is needed, it's too late. Get Ox Car Care so you can drive worry-free.
Just call Ox Car Care now with your make and model and get a free, no-obligation instant quote. But don't wait, or it'll be too late. You need coverage before a repair is needed. Call Ox Car Care right now.
Call 1-800-650-3037. That's 1-800-650-3037.
Welcome back to American Sunrise. I'm American Sunrise correspondent Emily Finn. It's great to have you with us this morning. Time now to drain the swamp, and this morning we're fleshing out Mahmoud Khalil, the Columbia University graduate student and pro-Hamas activist who can now be deported. An immigration judge in Louisiana ruled last Friday the Trump administration can in fact deport Khalil under the Immigration and Naturalization Act. But before he can be deported, some legal hurdles remain. There will be an administrative appeal, and then the case goes to the U.S. district courts while the legal battle plays out. Khalil will remain in the U.S. and in U.S. custody. Khalil was arrested early last month and charged with leading activities aligned to Hamas, a designated terrorist organization. Authorities also say he posed a threat to national security and foreign policy. Khalil's arrest was a part of President Trump's promised crackdown on pro-Hamas students who joined campus protests against the war in Gaza. Let's bring in Terrance and Bo to talk about how the courts will decide Khalil's fate. I mean, you guys, I had an opportunity at the University of Chicago. I was living there a couple years ago, and they were doing these pro-Hamas, protests, these pro-Gaza protests. And speaking to the students, trying to ask, why are you here? What inspired you to be here today? They really don't have a real reason. It's just, oh, well, everyone else is here, so I'm here too. I think this crackdown is going to be really, really good for schools all throughout the country, you guys. What do you think about that, Bo?
Yeah, I agree. You know, you mentioned Chicago, Emily, and I went to Northwestern, and I'm surprised with such a strong Jewish contingency and Jewish student community and even the president that they could permit this kind of a thing. It's happened at Northwestern. It's happened at Columbia, obviously. You know, Terrance, I think you're going to see this thing work its way through the courts. Emily mentioned the district courts. Ultimately, maybe it winds up at the Supreme Court. I know this is why we have an appeal process, but at the same time, he still gets to stay here, and he still has a mouthpiece. And I think it's just really dangerous to our country. And so, you know, I think Secretary Rubio being tough on this and means what he says, and President Trump means what he says, hopefully will deter other action. What do you think, Terrance?
Yeah, I agree. It's going to work its way through the courts. And I think the administration is being responsible in trying to send a message. And again, the message isn't that you can't protest, but the message is you have to be responsible and respectful in your protest, and your protest can't infringe on the rights of other people. I think that's the fundamental message, even apart from the substance of the protests that we've seen, that the administration is trying to send. And I suspect that what we're seeing at many college campuses is that the protesters aren't all necessarily about the issue that they're protesting. Some of them probably have no idea. It's just this sense that I'm in college, and so I should be politically active in some way. This is part of my college experience, is to go out and protest without really knowing what the substance of the protest is. I suspect that if you were to ask most of the people who are at some of these protests why they're there, what the real fundamental issues are, they probably couldn't tell you. There's this compulsion just to protest because I'm in college, and that's what I think part of my college experience should be.
Yeah, kind of like a mob mentality at that point, like you just described there, Terrance. I mean, this is a globally recognized terrorist organization. These students, they really don't know what they're even supporting with all of this. It's very, very sad to see, you guys.
Yeah, and I think it's the low-hanging fruit, right, Emily? I don't know if you caught any of Coachella or what they did the past weekend, but it was, you know, Bernie Sanders shows up. You've got a Lady Gaga in demonic gear. It just seems like this whole oligarchy thing is just like it's a way for young people to get involved. It's like protest for the sake of protesting. They don't really know the fundamental facts of what they're talking about.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Bo. And I think you bring up a good point with Coachella, and even, you know, not just entertainment, but the mainstream media as well, really kind of putting these ideas and the thoughts and ideas in the heads of young people that really don't have a place. I appreciate the conversation this morning, you guys. We want to know what you think. Let us know on Rumble or Getter. Hop on and let your voice be heard. Coming up on American Sunrise, the president's tariffs may affect the GOP's 2026 midterm elections. But are Republicans already hitting the panic button? Well, we'll find out. Also, after the president says he wants to help some auto companies, how are investors going to respond? A live look at Wall Street's big board coming up on American Sunrise. Stay tuned.
Wounded Warrior Project empowers post-9/11 veterans and their families with life-changing programs and services.
I faced my PTSD, and I'm a better husband and father because of it.
We help warriors get the expert care and support to thrive.
I got involved. I got healthier. I got to be an athlete again.
Through our programs, community, and advocacy, we're proving
anything is possible.
Learn more at woundedwarriorproject.org/connect.
There's nothing worse than losing your dog before their time. So why do so many dog foods contain awful things a human would never eat? To save his pets, world-famous veterinarian Dr. Marty knew he had to change what was in their bowl.
That's why I created Dr. Marty Nature's Blend, my breakthrough formula that's changed everything about dog food.
Nature's Blend contains nothing but all-natural ingredients, designed to help dogs with everything from digestive issues to itching and paw licking, even moving around better. And that's because Nature's Blend is freeze-dried. So instead of destroying the nutrients with high heat, we gently preserve them, and you'll see the difference in your dog.
Take it from a veterinarian with over 50 years of experience saving dogs' lives. I have never seen a food make this much impact on a dog's health.
Such a huge difference in her health. More energy, more playful, no more pooping issues. He's healthier, he looks better.
Dr. Marty has thousands of 5-star reviews. And for a limited time, get up to 54% off Dr. Marty Nature's Blend, plus a free gift with our special TV offer. Call or go to drmartypets.com/TV. That's drmartypets.com/TV.
My back got injured very bad. I was off work for about a year. I heard about Relief Factor from my wife. I took it every day, 3 times a day for 3 weeks. I looked at her and I said, the pain is gone. And she said, I'm glad it helped. I said, no, you don't understand. it's gone.
You too can feel better every day with Relief Factor, a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Call or go online now for our 3-week quick start, just $19.95.
Welcome back, everyone. Terrance Bates here, getting ready for the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. That's going to ring here in a matter of minutes. I can tell you pre-market trading not looking so great, at least not on the Dow. As you can see, it is in the red right now. However, the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ are both in the green. And what a difference 24 hours makes. Yesterday, we were telling you about gold and silver. Both of those were down. Now, both of them are up. So that's a good thing for those of you investing in that as well. Crude oil, however, is still down. Again, we'll take you to the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange here in short order. But first, let's get you over to Bo. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, T. Bates. Thank you so much. Could President Donald Trump's tariff trade war hurt future GOP elections? Well, some Republicans do believe so. According to The Hill, GOP senators are hoping history doesn't repeat itself like it did in 1932 and in 1982. Both of those elections saw Republicans lose seats as a result of trade wars, inflation, or voters' view of the U.S. economy. Let's discuss how tariffs could affect future GOP elections with former Trump White House official Cameron Kinsey. Cameron is the founder and CEO of Titan Media Strategies. Welcome, Cameron, to the show.
Thanks for having me, Bo. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. So, Cameron, we talked a little bit with John Solomon about this and how these tariffs could play out. How concerned do you think Republicans should be about tariffs potentially hurting their future elections?
Well, that's a good question. I don't think Republicans should be afraid of tariffs. I think they should be afraid of losing their backbone. President Trump's trade agenda is really a necessary correction to decades of globalist policies that have hollowed out American manufacturing, handed over power to the CCP. And, unlike trade wars of the past, these tariffs are strategic. They're long overdue. China has manipulated our markets. They've stolen our intellectual property. They've undercut American workers for decades. And Trump is really the first president to stand up and say, enough is enough, no more. So we are seeing these short-term adjustments, but they're just a small price to pay for long-term economic independence. And reminder, inflation wasn't caused by these tariffs. It's a direct result of Biden's reckless spending and supply chain failures that we saw for the past 4 years. And so I think if Republican senators are worried, maybe they should start defending American workers instead of Wall Street donors.
Yeah, good point. Well, meanwhile, Cameron, Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts has a serious case of so-called Trump derangement syndrome, TDS. Warren said Sunday on CNN's State of the Union that Congress should take away Trump's tariff authority. Take a look at this.
It is a mistake to have the President of the United States out there just playing red light, green light and saying, oh, this morning I woke up and think the tariffs should be this big. Now I think they should be this big. Now I think they should be somewhere else. And I got to say, saying, well, I will continue to make those decisions, and I'm going to hold off on these tariffs for 90 days. That doesn't put the economy in a better place. That doesn't put investors in a better place. Congress has a job right now, and that is to step up and take this authority away from Donald Trump.
Cameron, what's your take on Senator Pocahontas' thoughts there?
I love how you call it her Pocahontas. Pocahontas' obsession with Trump has nothing to do with policy and everything to do with control with her. She wants to strip President Trump of his ability to negotiate on trade because she knows that Trump can't be bought and he won't bow down to foreign interests. It's laughable that Warren is now pretending to care about economic fairness while she cheers on Biden's $1 billion green handouts to China. So she doesn't want fair trade. She wants to handcuff the one president who actually did something about it. And if Democrats were serious individuals and serious about protecting American workers, they would hold China accountable, not attack the man who did, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's all lip service, and nobody seems to want to talk tough with China other than President Trump. He's the first president to actually do it. So good on him for doing it. Might be a little short-term pain for long-term gain, but it's got to be done. Well, switching gears a bit, Cameron, to this story from the Daily Caller. They discovered that anti-Trumpers like Boston Democratic Mayor Michelle Wu received hundreds of thousands of dollars from a broker who has alleged ties to a Chinese intelligence agency. They say that Gary Yu gave $300,000 towards Wu's 2021 campaign. The financial funding came from a Chinese civic association he leads. Now, a deeper dive into Yu revealed that he's also listed as an official by a CCP agency. Cameron, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is a bombshell. I mean, a sitting Democrat mayor took hundreds of thousands of dollars in campaign cash from somebody tied directly to the CCP. So if that doesn't raise alarms, I really don't know what will. And you brought up Gary Yu. That's not even his real name. Is listed as an official for a CCP-linked agency and is allegedly a recruiter for the Chinese government. And he helped fund a Democrat mayor's campaign in an American city. I mean, Bo, imagine for 1 second if a Republican accepted money from somebody tied to Russian intelligence. The media would be in a full-blown meltdown. But foreign influence really isn't a hypothetical anymore, unfortunately. It's here, it's deep, it's buying up political power in Democrat strongholds. And Americans have every single right to be outraged right now.
Yeah, and Cameron, we got about 30 seconds left with you or so. Your thoughts on Coachella? I know this is part of your generation's musical influence. What do you think about Bernie Sanders showing up and Green Day changing the lyrics of American Idiot to talking about standing up, I'm not a MAGA person? What are your thoughts on that in terms of, a $600 ticket and fighting the oligarchy?
Right. I mean, priorities, right? And I also saw where Lady Gaga was at Coachella as well, singing a song called Judas right before Easter and Passover. And so, I mean, look at these people's priorities and who they're catering to. I mean, we shouldn't even be worried about such. We have real issues here at home that we need to take care of. And Bernie Sanders showing up at Coachella, a music festival, instead of serving the people in his district, just shows you everything that you need to know.
Yeah, and he's made a ton of money himself. I mean, he doesn't seem to want to talk about that, but you've got him and AOC out there leading the charge. Who is the future of the Democratic Party, do you think, Cameron?
It's crazy because we're seeing them prop up people like AOC, like Jasmine Crockett. We saw a really funny soundbite from Senator John Kennedy just saying, let him speak, let him speak. And that's going to be the best playbook for Republicans. And I completely agree. It's backfiring on them. They're propping up individuals who make their party look very, very bad. And so I think we just focus on our own agenda here at home. We focus on America First policies. We focus on actually serving the people who elected President Donald Trump into office. And so we're going to win every time.
Well, yeah, and everybody get out your shampoo bottles and make sure you read those directions, courtesy of AOC. Thank you so much, Cameron. We appreciate you today.
Thank you, Bo.
Thanks. Well, let's head back to Terrance in Denver for the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange, sponsored by AMAC.
The Association of Mature American Citizens is the conservative voice for Americans 50 and older. AMAC is fighting for the values that you hold dear. Join today. Together, we can write the course of America.
Caterpillar is at the podium. The applause is underway. The bell is going to ring and the markets will officially be open here in short order. And we'll get an idea of exactly how things are looking. So there you hear the bell, ladies and gentlemen. The markets are now officially open. This day of trading is underway. And just like that, it looks like the Dow remaining in the red. The S&P 500 is flat to start things off. The NASDAQ is in the positive, as our gold and silver crude oil remaining in the red at the moment. Again, a long day of trading is ahead. We'll continue to monitor all of this for you throughout the day and keep you updated. In the meantime, tariffs have really thrown the global economy into chaos. Potential widespread inflation tied to massive supply chain disruptions is really weighing heavily on all of us. But there's a silver lining here that most people have missed. President Trump specifically exempted gold and silver bullion from these sweeping tariffs. And while these new policies are triggering significant financial chaos, the administration preserved your ability to diversify into precious metals. If you're concerned about your savings, we really encourage you to have a free consultation with the Birch Gold Group and their precious metals specialists. The first step is to text the word America to the number 989898 and receive your free no-obligation information kit on gold. Learn how to hold gold and silver in a tax-sheltered account. The Birch Gold Group will help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a gold IRA for no money out of pocket. So many Americans buy gold from the Birch Gold Group, so it might be finally time for you to do the same. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and thousands of thankful and satisfied customers, text the word America to the number 989898. Again, that's America to the number 989898. Do so today and claim your free information kit. Still to come here on American Sunrise, President Trump is sick of CBS News going after him. So should the Tiffany Network pay a big price for their unlawful and illegal behavior? That's a question mark. We'll discuss. Also, the White House tells reporters no pronouns in your email signatures. Find out what happens now if a journalist using gender pronouns asks the Trump administration a question. That's ahead on American Sunrise.
I'm Jonathan Lawson, here to tell you about life insurance through the Colonial Penn program. If you're age 50 to 85 and looking to buy life insurance on a fixed budget, remember the 3 Ps.
The 3 what?
The 3 Ps.
What are the 3 Ps?
The 3 Ps of life insurance on a fixed budget are price, price, and price. A price you can afford, a price that can't increase, and a price that fits your budget.
I'm 54 and was a smoker, but quit. What's my price?
You can get coverage for $9.95 a month.
I'm 65, retired, and take medications. What's my price?
Also $9.95 a month.
I just turned 80 and I'm on a fixed income. What's my price?
$9.95 a month for you too. If you're age 50 to 85, call now about the #1 most popular whole life insurance plan available through the Colonial Penn program. Options start at $9.95 a month. That's less than 35 cents a day. You cannot be turned down because of your health. No medical exam, no health questions. Your acceptance is guaranteed. And this plan has a guaranteed lifetime rate lock, so your rate can never go up for any reason. Options start at $9.95 a month. Plus, you get a 30-day money-back guarantee. So call now for free information, and you'll also get this free beneficiary planner. Use this valuable guide to record your important information and give helpful direction to your loved ones with your final wishes. And it's yours free, just for calling. So call now for free information.
Call 1-800-538-4499 for your free information and your free gift. That's 1-800-538-4499. There's no risk or obligation. That's 1-800-538-4499. Call now.
All right, you guys, welcome back to American Sunrise. I'm Dr. Gina. Thanks for joining us this morning. We invite you to join in our conversation on Getter and Rumble. It is time now to take the political pulse of America. The beat today, the president wants CBS to lose its broadcast license. He says Sunday's 60 Minutes broadcast had not one, but 2 major stories on him that were derogatory and defamatory. Trump says it was another 60 Minutes broadcast that casted him in a negative light. Trump posted this message on Truth Social Sunday night saying about CBS News, they are not a news show, but a dishonest political operative simply disguised as news and must be responsible for what they have done and are doing. They should lose their license. The president sued CBS News back in October, you'll remember, after a separate 60 Minutes broadcast aired an interview with then Democrat presidential nominee Kamala Harris. Trump claimed CBS News deceptively edited the interview to portray Harris in a positive light. Joining us now with reaction is host of America's Voice Live, Steve Gruber. Steve, in the same Truth Social post railing CBS News, Trump said hopefully the Federal Communications Commission, as headed by its highly respected chairman, Brendan Carr, will impose the maximum fines and punishment, which is substantial, for their unlawful and illegal behavior. CBS is out of control at levels never seen before, and they should pay a big price for this, he said. Steve, do you think they will?
Look, there's a whole host of problems with the traditional corporate media in America, as we all well. Look, when I was growing up, I'm going to tell you this. When I grew up, 60 Minutes was mandatory viewing in my house in the 70s and 80s. My father, we'd get around, we'd watch 60 Minutes. You know, he'd like some stories, he wouldn't like some stories. Mike Wallace pulled no punches. Mike Wallace was a Democrat. Marley Safer was a Democrat, but you wouldn't know that because they would savage Democrats equal as they would savage Republicans. They'd put it out there. They'd put people through the meat grinder, and then they say, you decide, basically, right? It's not the way it works anymore. I mean, when I see CNN yesterday having to come on the air, Dana Bash, I've been here for 32 years. We don't hate America. Well, Dana, if you're having to get on national TV to say you don't hate America, You might just hate America. Just throwing it out there. There's a whole bunch of examples I can give of that. 60 Minutes is not a credible news platform anymore. They are not. The Washington Post, the New York Times, they won Pulitzer Prizes for covering false stories about Russia. We know because our good friend John Solomon just went through the 700 pages that were just released and gave us all the receipts. You look around. These news outlets are not honest. They're dishonest. They are trying to make sure that they still have an invite to the cocktail party this Friday evening in Washington, that they're invited to the special party on Saturday night in New York. See, they all went to college together. They were in the same sororities, the same fraternities. And when I say they, I mean the Democrat members of Congress, Democrat senators, people that work at CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, ABC, CBS, you pick it. They're all in this thing together, and it's an unpleasant place where they don't tell the truth. Look, you just look at what happened last week. Inflation down to 2.4%. ABC spent like 8 seconds on it. CBS was up at 9 seconds. And this is the kind of coverage you get. If these sorts of things happened with other politicians in office, if inflation was down, they'd be talking about how great it is all over the CBS Evening News. If jobs were up, which they were to an unexpected level, it'd be a leading story on NBC and ABC, but it's not. You see, if it's doom and gloom and it's bad for Donald Trump, it's a lead story. If it's good for Donald Trump, it's a positive thing for America, it's no story at all. They bury it. And it's not just true at 60 Minutes. I don't know what's going to happen there. Look, I believe in freedom of speech, but I also believe in being held accountable. If you libel somebody, if you smear somebody, which they have done over and over again to this president, then yes, you should be held to account. I mean, Donald Trump's already won some significant lawsuits against the media. He's still in a good lawsuit against the Associated Press, who, by the way, has still not been let back in the White House, and the Democrats are screaming foul. And there you have it. There's a lot to be looked at here. I think Donald Trump wins. Does he shut down 60 Minutes? I don't know. But at the same time, the other part of this conversation is happening right now. NPR, PBS, should they be eliminated from funding from the American government? I think so. I've said that my entire life. I've never thought that NPR and PBS should be funded by American taxpayers. They should be forced to compete in the arena like everybody else. And that's just another side story to all this big media happenings that are happening this week, Gina.
All right. Well, since you opened the door on NPR and PBS, I'll walk through it with you. We're talking about those agencies potentially losing $9 billion, more than $9 billion in funding. In fact, the White House saying that it plans to send a resolution or at least push this issue with Congress. How do you think Congress is ultimately going to act? And is there enough political capital, if you will, at the moment to make something like this happen, to really push that part of the agenda?
How many people actually listen to NPR or watch PBS? And look, all things considered, I enjoy that program. Nova on PBS, think it's a great show. Put it out there and compete like everybody else. I don't think that the American taxpayer need to be funding NPR or PBS any further. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the political cloud is, Terrance, but I'll tell you this. They need to compete in the arena like everybody else. Why would they be favored to get all this free taxpayer money? You know, when you've got other organizations out there like NewsGuard that prevent conservative outlets like this one from getting a lot of advertisers, because NewsGuard goes and says, listen, if you work with this network, and it's networks like Fox and this one and any other conservative network you think of, and they say, look, we'll put Rent a Riot in your parking lot unless you take your advertising off network A, B, or C because we don't like their messaging. And NewsGuard has been out there. It's a far-left organization that attacks advertisers for supporting voices like mine and yours and everybody here on Real America's Voice. So you've got a lot of different factors that are working out there. You can ask the owners of this network. They know. They know exactly what I'm talking about. So PBS, NPR, earn your paycheck the same way we do. Scratch it out every day. Roll up your sleeves. Work hard. Bust your ass. But don't ask for taxpayer handouts or demand or think that you're entitled or privileged to that, because you are not, in my estimation. That's where I feel about it, Terrance.
No, you're spot on, Steve. I also want to ask you about the Pennsylvania arson attacker who's been arrested. The suspect is 38-year-old Cody Balmer. His charges include attempted homicide, terrorism, aggravated arson, and other felonies. Balmer told police he harbored hate towards Governor Josh Shapiro and planned to beat him with a hammer if he ever ran into him. Steve, I know you've been following this pretty closely. What has been your assessment of this situation so far?
You know what's heartbreaking about this, honestly, and I'm looking at the pictures right here that everybody's looking at. That's what's heartbreaking to me. It's a terrible act of violence, but the Pennsylvania governor's mansion is a historic building. Republicans, Democrats, the founding of this nation, all sorts of irreplaceable historical items. That's what breaks my heart. This Cody Balmer, whatever his name is, should be punished to the absolute extent of the law. 25 years in prison, probably not enough for the loss of historical value in that building. You don't have to like Josh Shapiro to respect the value historically of this building. And you have to have enough respect for your political opponents not to firebomb them. Although I would say this, I am a bit concerned. He jumped the fence. Mm-hmm. The Pennsylvania State Police, the PSP, were running around trying to find him. Mm-hmm. He breaks a window with that, it's been described as a small sledgehammer, and throws a Molotov cocktail or two into the residence and does tremendous damage, as you have seen. I'm sorry. Was the security up to snuff at this mansion? It would appear not. That would be another major series of questions for me. What the hell happened here? How was this okay?
Yeah.
I mean, for any sitting governor, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, not insinuating any kind of collusion. I mean, it does make you ask the same kinds of questions.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying
right.
this is inexcusable incompetence. That's what I'm saying.
But you would think, though, after what happened to our president in Pennsylvania, right, that these sorts of slip-ups would not be happening anymore, especially there.
You know, Gina, you're exactly right. It should be happening nowhere, especially Pennsylvania should be very aware of the threats to politicians, Republicans, Democrats, independents, doesn't matter. But this guy jumped the fence and was running around the yard. They couldn't find him. It just means to me the security was not adequate. And I would suggest this, and it's unfortunate that we have to say this, but in this day and age, all 50 state houses and other places of official government business, whether in conservative red states or liberal blue states or purple states, you need to be mindful of the security that's being rolled out to protect these people. You don't have to like them, and whether you do or don't, you cannot condone this kind of violence. I do not. I condemn it. I don't know what this Balmer guy's deal is. I don't care. Whatever his deal is, send him to prison for as long as humanly possible. If there's a boat to El Salvador, send him. I'm sorry, is that too soon? But seriously, he needs to go, and he needs to be housed, and he needs to face the full extent of the law. I really, truly believe that. And again, I look at these pictures, I think it's heartbreaking. I mean, this is Ben Franklin's Pennsylvania. I don't know what was housed in this building, but I look at these grand rooms that are utterly destroyed, with the grand piano that's destroyed, and what artwork was on the wall, and what else was lost here historically that belongs not to this clown, but to the people of Pennsylvania and this great country of ours. You're not allowed to steal from all of us, and that's what that is. That's stealing history from all of us.
Exactly.
Steve, if I can just add to what you're saying, that's not just an attack on the governor's mansion. That is an attack on the people of Pennsylvania, because that is the people's house.
And the people of America, because the history is so rich there. Steve, you point to something really important that I'd love to see itemized lists of damages, because I think that once we know that, it'll be a little bit more disturbing even still. Steve Gruber, thanks for pointing to all this. Thanks for joining us today.
Really appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Appreciate you too.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, coming up right before Easter, the legacy media tries to attack Christianity. The details behind their epic failure. That's next, and later, a miracle in Michigan. A toddler goes missing in nothing but the little diaper. This was a bone-chilling temperature and a bone-chilling experience for those that were there. What happened? We're going to tell you. We're back with more American Sunrise when we continue right after this.
Wounded Warrior Project empowers post 9/11 veterans and their families with life-changing programs and services.
I realized I could be successful in a civilian career.
We stand by warriors and advocate for their needs going forward.
They were by my side in the hospital, and they're still with me today.
Through our programs, community, and advocacy, we're proving
anything is possible.
Learn more at woundedwarriorproject.org/connect.
Did you know that somebody could literally steal your house? Yeah, that is a thing that happens. It is when a criminal forges your signature on one document, uses one fake notary stamp. They then take out loans using your home equity. And the worst part of it is you don't even know it's happening until you start getting collections and foreclosure notices. This right here is why you need to use Home Title Lock.
Find out if you're already a victim. Go to HomeTitleLock.com now.
It's time to add some extra steps to your day. Introducing Ellipse, the premium quality automatic seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation without physical strain or impact. It's the easiest exercise you will ever do.
Ellipse fits perfectly under my desk, and it is so quiet that none of my coworkers even know I'm using it.
Strengthen and tone your legs, increase your mobility, flexibility, and balance, plus stimulate healthy circulation.
Hi, Chef Daniel Green here with Rice Robot, the 1, 2, 3 rice cooker. Watch, 1 add the white cup for rice, 2 add the blue cup for water, 3 click it and let Rice Robot perfectly cook it.
The secret is perfect cook technology for even cooking. Then Rice Robot senses when it's done, auto stops and keeps it warm to serve.
It won't burn, overcook or undercook, guaranteed.
Get the complete Rice Robot cooking system, all for just $39.99. Order now.
Let's spill some tea.
All right, let's spill some tea, sponsored by Artillery Tea Company. Make sure to go to artilleryteaco.com and use the promo code America's Tea for 25% off your first order. Artillery Tea is all natural, whole leaf. The tea bags are chemical free and each tea bag can be used twice. Artillery Tea Company is family and veteran owned and operated, and a portion of your purchase goes to help veteran and first responder charities. Make sure to go to artilleryteaco.com and use the promo code America's Tea for 25% off your first order. Well, time now to spill some tea, and in the cup today, the New Yorker magazine. The elitist rag is attempting to debunk Christianity, publishing a recent article questioning the origins of the Bible just in time for the Easter season. The article titled, "We're Still Not Done with Jesus." Yes, you heard that right. It's trying to delegitimize Christianity, claiming unreliable historical documents and false myths led to the rise of the religion. Wow. What the article misses, however, Bishop Robert Barron argues, is any opposing views from faithfully Christian biblical scholars who give the New Testament historical credibility. Bishop Barron says the timing of the article is no surprise, with Easter Sunday just days away.
This review, I think, amounts to an attempt to debunk a faith that is sacred, to well over 2 billion people around the world. And what struck me as I finished reading it, I noticed, oh yeah, it's in the March 31st edition of the New Yorker. It's almost Easter time. And so as the swallows come back to Capistrano, predictably, so the mainstream media typically chooses Easter as a time to debunk Christianity.
In a recent article, Bishop Robert Barron takes a look at attacks on Christianity ahead of religious holidays and compares it to other religions, saying, quote, "Why, I wonder, are there no similar pieces on Islam written during Ramadan? Why is the Upper East Side not directed toward the Quran, a religion that is backed by 1.8 billion people?" The questions answer themselves, of course, yet it's always open season on Christianity. Let's bring in Gina, Bo, and Terrance to discuss. Terrance, let's start with you here. Why does it seem like Christianity is always under attack?
Because there are people who lack faith, who haven't experienced, if you will, the love, the compassion that my Jesus has shared with me and how it's changed my life. And I think it's incumbent on us as Christians to just continue to live out God's word, to continue to be compassionate, to continue to love people no matter their situation, no matter their station, no matter their view of us. And I just believe, and again, this is just me, but I believe that love will bring light to the darkness in some people's hearts and to the darkness that some people are living in, Bo.
Yeah, and Dr. G, I'd love to get your opinion on this. I think about the two men that were on the cross with Jesus, both thieves, guilty as we all are with sin. One of them said, if you're the Son of God, you come off the cross, save yourself and save me. He mocked him. To me, that's the New Yorker. And the other guy said, Jesus, remember me when you enter your kingdom. And he said, truly, you will be with me in paradise. That's the equation that I see right now. I think the mainstream media, everyone trying to eradicate Christianity, it's that other man on the cross that's constantly mocking him, constantly scoffing. And Jesus is there proving that he not only died but rose again. And it's always open season on this faith. But I see the fundamental existential question, Dr. G, is those two men on the cross with him. And I think the New Yorker is the guy that's mocking him.
You know, having just returned, everybody, from the UK, I want to tell you how this manifests itself in political, practical terms. And what has happened in the UK, this is what I was shocked by. My daughter told me, because she's traveled there quite a bit, you know, be careful, Mama. I know you're bringing your dog. Be very careful. People are very radically opposed to dogs. And I thought, that's weird. I didn't think that much about it. Then I had a Muslim driver tell me that the reason that everyone is so radically opposed to dogs is because Sharia law has been implemented throughout the UK. And Islamists do not like dogs. So if you have a business and you allow dogs, in fact, if you don't adamantly not allow dogs, they will protest you. They will come out after you. They will write articles about you. They will mess with your machinery, your car, whatever, key you, whatever, pop your tires, those kinds of things. So even in Ubers and taxi cabs, they have to radically put across the thing, we do not ever allow dogs, or they're going to be protested by some of these Sharia groups. This is how it's implemented ultimately. I love what this priest said about how come there are never attacks on other religions. It's always on Judeo-Christian religions. And that's what I also love. And the good news is that this country, the U.S., is leading in restoring faith in America and throughout the world. And good things, I believe, are to come.
Absolutely. Gina, you're never going to see an article saying we're still not done with Islamist extremists, but they have this article saying we're still not done with Jesus. It's really frustrating to see. All right, great discussion. Still to come on American Sunrise, we're showing you the dramatic moment. Michigan State troopers rescue a missing toddler wearing nothing but a diaper in frigid temperatures. You don't want to miss this. In moments, we'll have the details on how they found him right after the break.
We're in a very holy time of the year. We think in terms of a deliverance.
This is where she washes the dishes.
If you're ever going to allow your Christian faith to rise and to do something for God's chosen people, now is the time. This is the home of Galina. She's 96 years old.
This is what she had to eat for today.
She has one pot with water and wheat.
My father was killed by the Nazis, and I was an orphan. I didn't know about God. But now, in the cold, hungry nights, I pray for food to the God I've never known. There are good people that love you.
You see the tears. Scripture says joy can come in the morning, and you can be the reason.
This Passover, if you will bless these hurting children of Israel, you will receive God's blessing in return. Your urgent gift today of $25 will help rush a survival food box filled with life-saving essentials and matzah for the Passover holy day. Call, scan, or go online now.
I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, I don't know how much longer she could have waited for us to come.
I can't even grow my food anymore. What will happen to me? I'm doomed to starve.
Tens of thousands of elderly Holocaust survivors in the former Soviet Union are living in extreme poverty, hungry, and forgotten. But through the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, we can bring them hope.
Eggs. It's my favorite food. May you be blessed.
You say to them, we see you and we're here to help.
Please don't delay. Call, scan, or go online now.
All right, welcome back to American Sunrise. It is Steve Gruber's dog's 16th birthday today. He has a blue heeler, and it's his 16th birthday, so happy birthday to Steve Gruber's dog. I'm Dr. Gina. So much we thank you for joining us today. I know everyone's like, what's with the dog thing? I don't know.
Back.
I still love dogs. Yeah, we're always going to talk about dogs. All right, it is time for Sunny Side Up. And in the pan today, One cold baby wearing nothing but a diaper, 2-year-old wandered away from home in frigid temperatures, sending his parents and the Michigan State Troopers on a mission to track him down. Last week, the youngster walked right out of the door in his family's Detroit apartment unit into the cold Midwest temperatures, and they can be so cold. A pair of Michigan State Troopers were already in the air in a helicopter when they answered this call about the missing child, determined to track him down using heat-seeking technology. They saw something moving in a ditch right off the highway. That's when they knew they had found him.
We weren't leaving until we found that child. The child was in the living room. They walked out. They come back a few minutes later, and the door to the apartment unit was open.
En route, we said we got to find this baby as soon as possible, right? We have children of our own. When we found that child, first thing we do, if we find anyone, we high five in the air. And then we say, yeah.
Happy to have been there. I mean, we train for this and make sure that we leave with happy endings and don't fall short of that.
I want to bring back in Emily, Bo, and Terrance. Bo, I know you have a child this age. There's nothing more terrifying than that moment. That's how I actually fell through a deck that was under construction once because I all of a sudden couldn't see my baby and panicked and went to look at the pool. We all have those moments as parents, but thank God they found him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, great job to the police and the troopers, everything that found him using heat-seeking technology. Yeah, I do, Gina. I have a 14-month-old. He just started walking. He's got a mind of his own. He's going to go places, but you have to always have eyes on that kid. So, kudos to everyone involved on this. I think it's a great story to end with because thank God they found him.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And this happened in the Detroit area in Michigan, right outside of my home. So I'm going to give a shout out to these Michigan State Troopers. They're making Michiganders proud.
That is awesome.
And
I'm hearing in my ear, "Go Lions" from our control room, parents.
Oh my gosh.
They said that just for you.
Please. We had such a great story, and then you had to add that in. Goodness gracious, I tell you, Emily. No, I feel lucky. The worst that we ever have is that our kids, well, my oldest, she jumped out of her crib, and we heard the boom. And, of course, we're like, what is that? And so as I was going across the hall to find her, she's walking across the hall, coming to our room, and we both scared each other. I screamed, she screamed. It was quite the moment.
With girls, Terrance, you only have girls. I have both. And the thing is, with girls, you worry when you hear the noise. With the boys, you worry when the noise stops. That's my wisdom for the parents of boys out there. All right, you guys, we had a great show today. Thank you so much for joining us. It is nice to be back with all of you. We have so much more for you every single morning. David Brody will be back with us again tomorrow. We start at 8 a.m., but 7 a.m. is when you can watch The Early Show with Jake Novak. War Room is up next. How your children love your God. Go boldly now. Make it a great Holy Week.
Look, I came here for one reason. This is raw political power, right? You took it back from the establishment, right? You took it right back from the establishment. Let's go back to those dark days of 2021. Remember that? President Trump had just won his second term, but was he in Washington, D.C.? Trump won, right? Yeah, right. You dare. They stole it, right? Stole it right in front of us. Stole it with cooperation.